Aita for ghosting a guy because he insisted on going for drinks on our first date. I, 20F, had been talking to this guy, 22M, for about a month. We knew each other from school, he was a senior, and reconnected recently. The conversations were fun, flirty, and I was open to meeting him in person to see where things might go. When we started planning a first date, he kept suggesting we go to a bar and get drinks. I personally don't feel super comfortable drinking with someone I haven't met properly yet, especially on a first date. I live in India, where that kind of setting, especially as a woman, can feel a little unsafe or just not ideal unless I already know/trust the person. So I subtly tried to suggest alternatives like coffee or lunch, hoping he'd take the hint. But every time, he pushed for drinks again. It wasn't aggressive or anything, but it felt dismissive of my comfort. After a few back and forths like this, I ended up just losing interest and stopped replying. Now I'm wondering, was that unfair of me? Should I have been more direct instead of ghosting him? Or was I right to just dip if I wasn't feeling respected or unsure? Edit, I guess ghosting wasn't the ideal word to use. I made up an excuse as to why I could not meet him, family commitment, when he just wouldn't budge on the drinks idea. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. ESH. Getting drinks is by and far the standard for a first date. What you're saying you said, but if you wanted to do something else and are holding it against this person for not understanding your unspoken aversion to the standard, then why did you even learn English in the first place? On his end, yeah, why you'd keep pushing for something someone's already rebuffed. Alternatives. But if you're hoping he'd take the hint, then I'd assume you phrased things to be a discussion, and then just ended the discussion. Edit. The learning English standard was typed under the assumption that English is your first language. Not a racial jab. Reply. Where I live, going out for drinks on the first date is not the standard. You're pretty much stupid if you go out and have drinks alone or with someone new. As a young girl in Delhi, the most unsafe state in India, this is usually something that most decent guys understand. The culture around dating and casual drinking is not that developed here. Commenter 2. He was insisting on going for drinks because he probably wanted to get you drunk and try to shag you. Hints about coffee or lunch or blatant communication about going for coffee or lunch would unlikely change what he wanted here. Reply. That's it. People are suggesting I could have just gone and had something non-alcoholic, but men don't understand how certain men can act in a situation like that, pushing to get you drunk so it can affect the girl's judgment or worse. It's one of the most uncomfortable situations to be in. Not saying this guy would definitely do this, but I've been in enough uncomfortable situations to run the other way at the possibility. Update. So I thought I'd give a small update since a lot of you suggested being direct rather than ghosting, just to see how he reacts and confirm my instincts. To clarify, I had actually cancelled our earlier plan by giving the excuse of family commitments, because I was already feeling weird about the drinks thing, not just straight up stopped replying like some comments thought. But after reading the responses here, I decided to be more honest, for closure, if nothing else. So when he called, I said something like, "We can try to meet next weekend if you're still up for it, but I'd really prefer not to go for drinks." I even suggested some of my favorite coffee spots. His response. He said he usually goes to the gym or works during the day, so was hoping to meet a little later. Which, fine, that's understandable since he does freelance work. But then he followed it up with, "But I bet you'd be very fun drunk." Yeah, that creeped me out more than I expected. Not only did it dismiss what I just said again, it also gave off the exact vibe I was trying to avoid, like the main appeal of the date was how I'd behave after drinking. I ended up giving vague answers to his follow-ups and haven't taken the conversation further. At this point, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to. Stories number 2. Aita for not rehoming my cats when my baby daddy's new wife is deathly allergic. I, 24F, have recently got new cats. My daughter, 6, has always wanted cats and she has an obsession with them and frequently says, "All I want in this world are cats." However, baby daddy's, 25, new wife, 25, is deathly allergic to cats and has been to the hospital once for it. I have multiple friends with cats and my daughter is frequently around them and plays with them, then goes over to baby daddy and wife's house, and there has never been a complaint of allergies. I was told by wife that she would start taking allergy shots and would be good to go in around a month's time. I found the perfect cat sibling pair from an adoption agency in my area, Adopt Don't Shop 3, and with the info on it being about a month, I had a friend agree to watch them in the transition period and would take caution in giving baths, changing clothes, etc. if my daughter did see the cats. Well, yesterday I let them know that she had come in contact with the cats briefly, but she was bathed and put in freshly washed clothes that had not been in the same house as them. I was told to still take her over to her grandparents' house for another rinse off and change of clothes just in case. After dropping her off, I received a call from baby daddy where he told me his wife could no longer get the shots since they just found out she's pregnant, so he would like the cats rehomed or returned to the adoption agency. My biggest concern is for my daughter, and I genuinely believe if the cats were taken from her permanently it would be traumatic for how long and how badly she's wanted them. Not to mention the resent in her it would cause towards the wife and new baby, and that's just a horrible thing to do after giving a pet a new home after being rescues. Also, I would be effectively blacklisted from all rescues and agencies if I were to do that, and rightly so. I ended up getting another call the day after saying they were in the ER for hours and spent a bunch of money for the visit and the cats need to be rehomed. But like I said before, my daughter has been around cats many times and gone over there, and there's never been an issue, and I find it hard to believe after 2 baths and clothes changes that it truly caused such a bad reaction that the hospital is necessary. It's also important to note that the 3 of us have not always gotten along, especially since the wife was my best friend for a while before I found out she got with him, so we were on very bad terms for a very long time, so I find it hard to give up something me and my daughter have been so excited, and I've worked so hard to get to a place where we can get them, only to be told we can't because of their decision to have a new baby. So they're still asking the cats be given back or rehomed and making me feel like I'm the bad guy. Am I the asshole? Also, edit to add, they were both aware for a long time the end plan was to get cats ASAP, that's why she was going to start the shots. They were not blindsided by this plan, and I told the wife when I got them, and it was fine before they found out about the pregnancy. Edit 2, since for some reason I have to preface this was not in retaliation or out of spite or anything in that way towards wife. We just moved to a place that can have cats we couldn't at previous place, and I have been wanting cats since before I even knew the dad in high school. I do not think about them when I'm not directly speaking to them, so adopting cats was purely for the joy of me and my daughter, not to cause problems. And again, they knew this was happening and there were no issues, and cats were adopted and they were informed they were before finding out she was pregnant, and the plan was fine then, so it was not me trying to make life harder for wife. Stories number 3. I missed the first 4 years of my daughter's life, and now she's living with me. I got a girl pregnant when I was 20. She was 18. We weren't in a serious relationship, more like 2 young, scared kids who were hooking up over the summer, ended up with way more than we were ready for. When she told me she was pregnant, I freaked out. My parents told me to stay out of it. They said it would ruin my life, my future. That I wasn't ready, and getting involved would just make things harder for me, for her, for everyone. They stepped in, hired a lawyer, and started paying child support on my behalf. They told me to move on, and I did. At least on the surface. I finished college. Got a decent job. From the outside, everything looks fine. But in the back of my mind, I always knew there was something missing. I've thought about her all the time over the last 4 years, as much as I tried not to. My daughter. I never met her, not even when she was born. I wondered what she looked like, what her voice sounded like, if she liked music or cartoons or dinosaurs or dolls. I always meant to reach out, someday, but shame kept getting in the way. I didn't know how to face her or her mom or what I'd even say. I knew I didn't deserve a place in her life. And then, a few weeks ago, I got a message from her on social media. Her mom left an abusive relationship and ended up in a shelter. She's doing everything she can to stay safe and get back on her feet, but she couldn't keep our daughter with her. And there's no safe or available family on her side. Her mom is an alcoholic, so her parents' house isn't safe. She's very paranoid about this guy coming after her and wanted our daughter. I feel like I liar calling her our daughter, by the way, far away from where she currently is. She asked me if I'd temporarily take care of our daughter, and that I don't need to even identify as dad. We talked on the phone after initially talking online. Everybody advised me against getting involved now, but I feel like this is the least I can do. I was probably awake for 2 days straight trying to decide what to do. So now, my 4-year-old daughter is living with me. 3 hours from her mom and her home. In a home she's never seen before, with a man she doesn't know. She's small, sweet, cautious. She doesn't talk much, but she watches everything. She asked me if she's going to stay here now, and when I said yes, for a while, she just nodded and went back to coloring. No crying. No big reaction. That kind of quiet acceptance from a kid her age is devastating. I didn't know she had a peanut allergy until I read it in the folder the caseworker handed me. I didn't know her favorite color, it's purple. I didn't know that her favorite food was mac and cheese or that she hums to herself when she draws. I missed all of it. I didn't even know that I needed a car seat for a 4-year-old and had to get one when I drove out there to pick her up. I feel like an imposter playing dad. I know absolutely nothing, and of course have anyone I know with kids on speed dial right now. Everything I should have learned over the past 4 years is hitting me all at once. I thought I had my life together, but now it feels like I'm starting over with someone who has every right not to trust me. I know I can't undo the past. I know I failed her, badly. But I'm here now and I'm trying, just completely clueless. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm so proud of you. I myself am a parent of 2 and my own daughter is just 2 years younger than the gal when she got pregnant. In some ways I agree with your family. At 20 this could have truly ruined your life. You stayed in school, got a degree and a career. You set yourself up best to help her succeed. Now stay in her life. I'm very curious, what do your parents think about all of this? Reply, my parents didn't think I should get involved now. They're saying the same sorts of things they said 4 years ago, that my involvement will somehow only make things worse. How? I don't have any problems physically, mentally, legally. I'm not abusive. My mom basically said I have no clue what I'm doing, won't be able to handle it, and will fail. My dad is convinced it's only a matter of time before my daughter's mom contacts me and asks if she can come stay here with me and I'll never be able to get rid of her. During the first year or two of my daughter's life when I was still in school I remember asking my mom a few times if she'd heard anything about my daughter or knew how they were doing. My ex and daughter were living in the same town as my parents. She would just say things like, she's fine, she's with her mom, and shut the conversation down real fast. The only encouraging person within my immediate family has been my younger brother. Commenter 2, 1. Your parents are horrible. 2. Bless you for stepping up to the plate and being a father to your child. 3. See a child psychologist to help her transition. Be a safe space for her, and with time she'll come around. Don't just love her, nurture her. Learn the difference. Reply, I can honestly say that I don't think my relationship with my parents has ever been the same since all of this happened 4 years ago, but at the same time I've finally come to accept my responsibility in not being involved. I blamed them in my head for a few years, or let them take the blame as a way to make myself feel a little less guilty. But I was a 20-year-old adult and made the decision to do what my parents wanted me to do. They were against me getting involved this time too. Commenter 3, I was reading the comments and thinking, wow, this woman was abandoned at 18 pregnant, and now her only support is the guy that abandoned her, and she doesn't even ask a place for herself just for her daughter. It's sad, and I don't think OP truly understands how unfair it is towards the mom. I may be wrong, but I get the vibe that OP's parents aren't paying child support anymore. Reply, maybe I'm the asshole for not immediately inviting her to come stay with me, My parents haven't paid child support in a little over a year. I've been paying it since then. On paper it was always me paying it and legally it's always been my responsibility, but they fronted the money. It really was a minimal amount because I was still a college student without any sort of real income. They gave her a larger check up front too, not court mandated. Update, I was absent for the first 4 years of my daughter's life, and now she's been living with me for 2 weeks. Hi, so I posted around 2 weeks ago about my 4-year-old daughter coming to live with me and really us meeting for the first time. I didn't expect to receive so many responses, and I think I needed all of the support more than I even realized at the time. I was honestly nervous to post because I figured I'd just get more judgment about not being involved in her life until now over any actual advice, and I'm not saying that judgment wouldn't have been warranted. The amount of support and encouragement I've received here and from all of the people who have sent me DMs has been really surprising and I'm thankful for it. Sorry, this is another long post coming. Life has been really busy the past few weeks, so I haven't really had the mental energy to come on and make an update or respond into any posts, although I've been lurking and reading posts here lately. The first week she was here, I took off work. The next week, I worked from home, but not much work got done. Since then, I've mainly been working from home and actually doing work, but I have had to go in a few days and take her with me since I had no other option. I took her in on days when few people were there. The situation is a little weird when it comes to qualifying to paternity leave or FMLA. She's not my foster kid, she's not a new baby, and she's not a newly adopted kid. Regardless, since this was so unexpected, I'm not really in a position to take several weeks off at a reduced or absent salary. So, I need to find daycare ASAP. I feel really guilty about it. Her whole life has been turned upside down and I think she's starting to get comfortable with me, and now I'm going to put her in another new situation with a bunch of other new people. At the same time, it also can't be that great for her to mainly only be around me all the time, right? I've already been warned that we'll probably be on a waiting list for daycare no matter where we go. Is that true? And how long are we talking? Somebody at work who lives over on my side of town recommended a daycare that would work great since I pass it on my way to work. I looked up the reviews and decided it was a no. She won't be entering kindergarten in the fall, so I guess finding a preschool would be best, but does preschool even run in the summer? I'm hoping to find a part-time thing to save money, and because over the summer months I can work a few days a week from home. It looks like many daycares around here offer part-time options. I just don't really like the sound of any of them. I think she's probably doing as well as she can be doing given the situation. We have more of a routine in place now, which I think helps both of us. She has her own bed now. She talks to me a lot more without me having to start the conversation or ask her a question. Sometimes the things she says or the questions she asks surprise me, like when she stood up and just yelled, "I love farting," out of nowhere. Then she asks me things that make me nervous, like, "Did you have a daddy when you were little?" I mean, can a 4-year-old fish for information in that way? She still doesn't know that I'm her dad and I don't really want her to ask. I don't really know that she put anything together like that, but it still makes me nervous. We're still in touch with her mom daily. We met up with her this weekend. I could tell that her mom was putting on a brave face, but she didn't want to leave her. I thought she might tell me she wanted to take her back with her. Well, I know that's what she wanted, but she didn't act on it. Then when we went back to my place afterwards, my sort of had a 2-hour-long meltdown, didn't know a kid could scream for that long and that loud. She threw stuff everywhere, wouldn't take a bath, wouldn't go to bed. I didn't know what to do, so I just stayed calm and pretended like it was no big deal. I just tried to ignore it, and eventually she calmed down enough to pick all of the stuff up that she threw around. It's the first time she's ever acted like that and I didn't expect it. I suggested to her mom that maybe she should try to move out here, which is 3 hours from where she's at now. Maybe a new area would be good for her, and it would get her away from her boyfriend/ex-BF, whatever he is. I'm not inviting her to come stay with me, but I guess if she needed to temporarily stay somewhere very short term. She's nervous to leave her job because I guess they've always been very supportive of her and flexible. She also doesn't completely trust that I'm committed to being an actual present father in our daughter's life, which I can totally understand. We've had some serious conversations about it. I've apologized, I've told her that I understand I'm going to have to prove myself, and thankfully she is willing to give me a chance, but she says it'll take a long time for her to feel like she can really rely on me and before she'll be ready to tell our daughter that I'm her dad. She said it might take a year before she's ready to tell her that. Commenter 1, good on you dad. I'm not sure why y'all don't want her to know that you're her dad, but you know your situation better than I do. I read your first post, and I may have been on the more judgmental side. In any case, I'm proud of you. I'm proud to call you a fellow dad. You're taking this in stride and doing what needs to be done. I see that, the others here see it, but more importantly your daughter and her mom see it. It's not that I don't want her to know. Her mom doesn't want her to know yet, and I still can't quite figure out what I'll say if she asks me directly. Reply, I don't think she planned for my involvement in our daughter's life to be permanent. She didn't think I'd want that, she's told me that. I know my daughter living with me full-time is almost definitely not permanent, so I'm not looking at it that way. But I want my presence and involvement in her life to be permanent and to have time with her. She didn't even think I'd say yes to taking our daughter. She doesn't believe me when I say that I want to stay involved in our daughter's life, and she seems to be in the mindset that I can't wait for this to be over and go back to my child-free life. She's considering moving here, but I'm the only person she knows here. She's going to quit her job, which seems to be the only stable thing she has right now, to move 3 hours away from everyone she knows because the guy who walked away 4 years ago says she should move here and he'll help raise her kid. She's told me she's scared to leave her job because she has no qualifications and never sees job openings for things she's qualified in that pay a living wage. I guess her employer has been flexible with her as far as being a single parent goes, and she feels like she's taking a risk leaving. It's her ex-boyfriend. There's legal stuff going on with him related to him assaulting her, and he's threatened both of their lives. They were living with him and it's his name on everything. But I guess whatever he did to her the last time, she just left with practically none of their belongings. So, she's scared of him, which is all the more reason to move away from there in my mind. She's trying to save up money to get her own place to live. She told me she had no savings at all, nothing basically. She's saying she needs a few more months, but doesn't know if she can last that long being away from her daughter. I will be establishing some things legally, like my right to see my daughter and possibly some form of custody. TBH, going into this I didn't know that I'd definitely feel this way. In the beginning, it really was a temporary thing for me too, so this is all happening very fast in a way. Stories number 4. BAL's fiancé claims my family never RSVP'd, but I'm the only one without a seat. I'm not quite ready for all of my husband's family to get involved. I think. I'm still reeling and trying to process this, so bear with me. My brother-in-law is getting married soon. My husband is the best man, and our 4-year-old is the ring bearer. I'm a part-time party planner, so I've been helping plan a small luncheon for the bridal party, immediate family, and a few vendors on the wedding day. So I'm not exactly a fringe guest here. The RSVP deadline was a few weeks ago. I filled out the online form and submitted it the same day the invitation came in the mail, with my husband sitting right next to me. We RSVP'd for the 3 of us, me, my husband, and our son. Easy peasy, right? Well, BAL's fiancé, SAL, reached out today over text saying we never RSVP'd. Not, hey, I never saw your RSVP, just checking, but straight up, you didn't respond. Which is frustrating on its own, but then she tells us that while my husband and son have seats at the reception as they were in part of her original head counts, I do not. My husband was told I could come early with him to set up the luncheon still and stay for the ceremony, but that I would not have a spot at the reception. Let me repeat that, I'm married to the best man, mother of the ring bearer, and helping with wedding day logistics, including connecting SIL with some of my professional contacts. And she somehow decided I just wouldn't be coming. And she never followed up before the RSVP deadline. Just, what? I'm torn between feeling hurt, furious, and just flabbergasted. And used, I definitely feel used. At best, this was a sloppy mistake that she's not owning. At worst, it feels like a pointed exclusion. I'm not sure which stings more. My husband is going to handle the conversation with his brother to figure out what is going on, because I genuinely don't trust myself to be polite and keep the peace. There was no other drama leading up to this that I was aware of. I have a good relationship with my in-laws. So yeah, this is totally out of left field for me and my husband. I would love to hear thoughts, especially from people who've gone through something similar. I don't typically touch weddings with work, so this is all new territory for me as a pseudo-vendor/guest. My husband wants to reach out and talk to his brother first, but I'm so tempted to reach out to my MIL before our usual meetup tomorrow to see if she knows anything. Edit 1 from comments. Small update, husband and BL are talking now. BL was not working today, last night, and was helping FIL with something this evening. When I called MIL, she had BL call husband right away. From what MIL and I can hear, we're Snoopy, my husband was muted on BIL's phone and my contact was deleted. BL can't log into the wedding website, so he can't check to see if our RSVP was there. I'm not sure if I want to become a firecracker myself or get some popcorn as I watch MIL pop off. Edit 2 from comments. Okay, here's the last update for the night. I am tired and a bit overwhelmed by all of your responses. I'm sorry I haven't replied to them all, but I have read most of them. Again, thank you for your advice and just general support during this really weird and upsetting time. TLDR, BL don't know, and now the wedding is up in the air. He's currently staying with MIL and FIL to have some space from SIL. So, my husband finally got a hold of BL after I called MIL. No one else knew this was going on. While they were talking, BL tried logging into their wedding website to see if this was a mistake or misunderstanding, but couldn't log in. So he texted SIL to see if she changed the password, and she just told him to come home instead. This set off 3. 1. BL ended the call with husband to call SIL about why she couldn't answer a simple question. 2. MIL popped off about, how dare that woman exclude OP. 3. MIL and FIL popped off on BL for already living with SIL. They are very religious and traditional and don't believe that a couple should live together before marriage. Husband and I sympathize with BL. BAL and SIL argued over the phone. Apparently she started claiming that it was an unfortunate glitch and it was too late to add another seat now. Then it was that we never jived, and would it really be so bad if I went home early? Plus I could take our son home with me because he would be tired by then, at 5 p.m. This woman does not know kids ISTG. Then it was I've always been mean and excluding her from things, even though she's never invited me to any of the girly fun wedding events. At this point my husband and I are glued to my phone as we're hearing yelling from all 4 of them until SIL hangs up. BIL is spending the night at his parents' and is unsure about the wedding now. He plans on going home tomorrow, with husband going with for moral support. I'll be going with hubby to my in-laws to hang out until we hear back about the situation at the battlefront. Stories number 5. The friend of a friend of my stepdaughter thought they could try to throw a pool party. Update is below. Today my stepdaughter called me during my lunch break to see if she can have a friend over, which I said I was fine with. Stepdaughter is very mature for her age, she's 17. While my husband and I work, my stepdaughter and her siblings watch the house with my parents, who pop in to check on them. When my dad arrived, a few other cars were right behind him and he asked, "Can I help you?" It was 4 cars full of teenagers whom one said, "Yeah, old man, we're here to use the pool." Insert my stepdaughter's name, said she was having a pool party. My dad tells them to stay put and goes to find my stepdaughter, and when he found her she said she didn't say anything about a pool party, it was just supposed to be one friend coming over, that was it. My dad calls me and explains the situation. I tell him to tell the rest of the teens minus one named Josie to leave. In a text I got from my dad just now, he says he went back out and told the teens they need to leave, but because he knows Josie he tells her to stay put. The other teens all call my dad a party pooper and flip him off as they leave. My dad talks to Josie and asks why did Josie have so many people with her, and Josie says she drove by herself. Within a few minutes another girl pulls up and asks where's everyone else, and my dad asks her, "Did you tell everyone there was a pool party?" Girl says, yeah, everyone knows, insert stepdaughter's name, has a pool. My dad tells her the pool isn't even remotely ready and he recognizes her as the granddaughter of two of his friends he goes out to breakfast with on Saturdays with my mom. My dad tells her to leave and she tells him to F off. My stepdaughter storms out and yells at the girl telling her to leave and she was not entitled to try to think she could throw a pool party. The girl eventually left and Josie explained that the girl was with her and as soon as Josie got the okay to go over the girl thought they could throw a pool party without checking in first with my stepdaughter. I'm proud of my stepdaughter for helping my dad. As for the other girl, I'm sure my dad will be talking to her grandparents tomorrow morning about how rude their granddaughter was to him. The big update: my parents stopped by to say they spoke with the girl's grandparents during their traditional Saturday breakfast with friends and they are friends with the girl's grandparents. My father asked his friends what caused her to think she was so entitled to think she could make up such a lie about his step-granddaughter having a pool party. The man responded, she's been having a very stressful year with her parents' separation and without the balance of both parents in her life at the same time she's been acting out a lot more to get attention and to cause trouble wherever she's planning. She's recently gotten in trouble for shoplifting, getting gas at gas station where they pump gas for you then driving off once her car's tank is full and so much more trouble. Each time she's confronted she screams she's entitled. The wife replied, her father never was this way but for her to be behaving like her now entitled ways is ridiculous and she's been warned several times by both parents to stop acting entitled and causing trouble where there was none. They both feel her parents are doing everything they can to ensure her just because they're now heading for divorce doesn't mean she isn't less loved but she's not listening. My father told his friend, the next time she does anything to alienate my step-grandchildren I'm getting the police involved and suggesting she goes to jail. I'm surprised she hasn't gone already. Stories number 6. Aita for leaving my best friend's surprise party early because it felt more like a roast. Okay, so I, 24F, have this best friend, let's call her Jenna, 24F2, and we've been close since high school. Like, held my hair while I threw up in the Denny's bathroom, type of friends. I honestly love her, I really do. But she can be a lot. So anyway, she threw this little surprise party for me last weekend. My birthday was last Tuesday, but she insisted on celebrating Friday. She told me to dress cute, and she made it sound like it was gonna be this wholesome wine and charcuterie night with the girls. Sounds great, right? Well, I show up in this cute white dress I literally bought for the occasion, hair curled, nails done, all that. I walk in and they yell surprise, but not in a "we love you" way. It was a theme party. The theme? Dress like the birthday girl and roast her. I kid you not, everyone was wearing versions of my go-to outfits. Messy bun, iced coffee cups, fake nails, bad parking tickets taped to their bags, okay that one kinda got me. But then they started doing fake toasts that were just jabs. Like, here's to my name, who always has a 10-step skincare routine but still wakes up looking tired. To my name, who thinks astrology is a personality trait. To my name, who ghosted her gym membership but never forgets to DoorDash McFlurries at 2 a.m. Like. Some of it was funny, I'll admit, but after 20 minutes it just got mean. I kept smiling through it like, haha good one, but deep down I was like, damn. This wasn't a roast with love. It was just people clowning on me for sport. So after pretending to go to the bathroom, I grabbed my keys, quietly told Jenna, I think I'm done for the night, and left. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't cry. I just left. I texted her later that I appreciated the effort, but it felt more like I was the butt of the joke, not the guest of honor. Now Jenna's mad and saying I embarrassed her, and that it was just jokes, and I'm being too sensitive. A few of the others messaged me saying they thought I overreacted and that it was all in fun. But like, isn't a birthday supposed to feel good? Not like a Comedy Central special. So tell me, Aita for walking out of my own roast disguised as a birthday party. Also for the record, I'm now officially team, next year I'm celebrating with pizza and my cat. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA ironic she wants to claim anything about being embarrassed. That none of your friends care the humor got stale and are continuing to pile on rather than reflect, well, are they even friends or do they even like you? Reply, right? That's what's been messing with my head the most. Like, if this is their idea of fun or love, I'd honestly hate to see what their version of shade looks like. I kept thinking maybe I was being too sensitive, but the fact that not one person said, hey maybe this is going too far, kinda says it all. It felt like I walked into a group chat where they've been secretly roasting me for months and accidentally read the whole thing out loud. Still debating if I should fade out or hit them with a group message titled, roast this, and attach a pic of me on a solo spa weekend. Commenter 2. I think your group chat comment is a great way to describe it. Having been a younger woman, I think many of us can learn misperceptions about what is funny and how roasting plays into relationships, or rather how it makes them unhealthy. I guess we don't share the same sense of humor, which is okay. What isn't okay is that I said I wasn't enjoying it, and instead of realizing it or accepting that, you just keep invalidating what I am saying. It's disappointing. And then your idea of ghosting may be best. The more you fight or try to explain, they will likely weaponize it and say you are so dramatic, so why give them more ammunition? Why allow yourself to be dismissed more than they have? I promise you, one of the most powerful things you can do, even though it may not seem like it, is to just stay quiet. It freaks people out and they don't know how to handle it. Update. Hey everyone. Wow, I did not expect this much love and support. I've been reading through your comments, like, obsessively tbh, and I can't even tell you how comforting it's been. I thought I was crazy or being too sensitive, like Jenna said, but apparently I was just reacting like a normal human with, feelings. So thank you. So here's what happened since I posted. Jenna texted me. Not to apologize, but to send me a meme that said, roasting is a love language, with a laughing emoji. I left her on read because, girl. Seriously. Later that night, one of the girls from the party, we'll call her Becca, DM'd me and said she thought I knew about the roast. She said Jenna told everyone I was totally down for it and even helped plan it. I was like, what? The only thing I planned was the white dress I wore while being emotionally shanked by 6 girls in fake Uggs. Anyway, I gently explained to Becca that nope, I was blindsided. And she immediately apologized and said she felt really bad. She even said if she'd known, she never would have gone along with it. So that honestly made me feel a bit better, at least one of them has a soul. As for Jenna, radio silence since the meme. No apology, no, hey I messed up, nothing. So I've decided I'm not gonna chase people to value me. My new plan. I took a personal day, got myself a mini spa package, ate overpriced macarons, and spent my night with my cat binge-watching The Bear while wearing a gold face mask like I was healing from battle, because emotionally, I kinda was. I've realized this whole thing was actually a weird gift. I got roasted, yes. But I also got clarity. I thought I had a solid group of friends, turns out I had a front row seat to my own roast hosted by people who think mean but make it Pinterest is a cute party idea. So yeah. Next year, it's just me, my cat, a pizza the size of a steering wheel, and 0 surprises. And you know what? That honestly sounds perfect. Thanks again for validating my gut feeling. Y'all really helped me feel seen. Comments. Commenter 1. Good for you. I hope you're leaving them in the rearview mirror. Commenter 2. Becca sounds like someone to keep around but the rest can kick rocks with their busted, crusty ass bare feet. Stories number 7. Aita dad told me he feels haunted by my mom and in response I told him he deserved it for letting his wife replace her for him and my sister. My mom got really sick after she had my sister, 12. She really struggled and had no energy, got headaches, complained about aches and stuff. Turns out she had a blood clot and it killed her before they found out what was going on. I, 22, was 10 at the time and it wasn't easy to lose her like that. 2.5 years later my dad met Bree and they got married when my sister was 4 and once they were married Bree adopted my sister. Before Bree moved in we had photos of mom at home and dad would talk about her to my sister and to me and he made it a priority for us to spend time with mom's side of the family. Once Bree moved in that stopped. I still saw the maternal side of our family and I hoarded photos of mom in my room. But it was like Bree moving in suddenly meant mom was an out-of-bounds topic and I got shut down anytime I tried to mention her. Bree would get pissed at me while dad would pull me aside and suggest I should be more sensitive to Bree's feelings. He told me she didn't deserve to compete with mom. When Bree adopted my sister I felt a lot of ways about it. None of them positive. I said nothing because it wasn't up to me and at least she didn't try and adopt me. My dad noticed and kept trying to pull me into the family but I kept my distance. I tried to stay close to my sister but she'd get upset that I clearly disliked Bree and would get confused about us being siblings but I didn't call Bree mom like she did and when I tried to explain it Bree yelled at me and took my sister away. Dad always let her. He told me not to shatter my sister's chance to have a normal family. He told me she deserved a mom and not just other people's memories of one. I moved out when I was 17 because I graduated early and I went to stay with some family members for a while. I kept in touch with my sister where I could but I was completely NC with Bree and very LC with my dad. Right now I'm spending the summer with my grandparents. Dad wanted to know if he could bring my sister over to see us since she hasn't been around our grandparents in almost 7 years and she hasn't seen me in years either. They asked me and I was good with that. I wanted to see my sister and could tolerate dad as a result. When they came over he asked if we could talk and he confided in me that he feels like mom's haunting him because he has all these nightmares of her and how upset she is with him. It started when my sister referred to our maternal grandparents as my grandparents and she said her grandparents were Bree's parents, both died before Bree and my dad even met. Then he mentioned mom to my sister and she told him Bree's her only mom and that my mom is different. He told me he never realized she had no concept of the fact she had a birth mom and a mom. I gave dad shit for calling mom a birth mom, and minimizing her like that as if she gave my sister up for adoption instead of dying. Dad was like, you know what I mean, and he'd never minimize mom like that and he loves her. I told him he had a funny way of showing that in the aftermath of her death, and then when he mentioned her haunting him again I told him he deserved it for letting Bree replace mom. I said he made sure to move fast with Bree so my sister would call her mom, love her like a mom, and so our mom would be a non-concept to her. He told me he still believed she deserved the chance to have a mom. I said he basically erased and replaced mom so he shouldn't cry to me about it. I left our talk to spend time with my sister and it was uncomfortable because she didn't want to be around strangers even if they were my grandparents. She said they weren't hers and I don't like her mom so she doesn't want to spend time with me. My grandparents told dad it might be better they go home since he wasn't helping her to understand and we couldn't get through to her. Then I got a long text from dad about the things I said being insensitive and even if he's made a lot of mistakes I'm an ass for wanting to deny him another wife and my sister the chance to have a mom in her life. I didn't reply. Still haven't read the whole thing either. But I'm wanting to ask Aita. Stories number 8. Aita for insisting that I have nothing to apologize for after my husband read my diary. I'm trying to stay focused here but my edibles have kicked in and I need advice. I have kept a diary since I was 10. It is my form of therapy, and I do not police my thoughts. I have never let anyone read my diary. My husband and I started dating over a decade ago. One day a couple of months in, he was over at my apartment, and I had hopped in the shower. When I came out, he was sitting on the bed shell-shocked. He said he read my journal, which was mostly about my life as a newly single woman. He told me it really stung to read all that. But wait. Hold on. How'd you find it? He said he was looking for matches. He couldn't tell me why he kept reading even after he knew what it was, but his apology was sincere and I forgave him. Not too long after that, things got messy. He started getting either very sad or very angry while referring to things he read. His feelings were so intense that I started apologizing for my thoughts. Anyway, we got married. A decade later, I was thinking of a divorce and wrote a ton to process my thoughts about some sensitive topics. Again, he stumbled upon my journal and read it all. I was pissed, but he convinced me that he would never do it again. Besides, he was really hurt by the things I wrote, and I felt bad. I let it go, but he started getting sad or angry again thinking about what he had read. Once more, the intensity of his feelings led me to apologize for my thoughts. Now here we are, married with kids, setting up Scrabble on a Friday night. He went to find a piece of paper and came back quiet and distracted. I asked if everything was okay. He looked at me sharply and told me that he just read my journal. I tensed, thinking of how I recently tackled some tough feelings related to our different ethnic and religious backgrounds. I wrote things that would have been hurtful to read, and I was mortified knowing that he did read them, but I was also annoyed. Wait, you read my journal again? He blamed me for leaving it out and accused me of being a bad person for what I wrote, but honestly I wasn't listening to him anymore. I just wanted to know why we were dealing with this again. It's pretty fucking basic knowledge that one shouldn't read other people's diaries, right? But look at him, forcing his way into my brain and shaming me for what he saw. I surprised myself by slamming my hand on the table. A third time. We were both hurt, but he was accusing me of overreacting while minimizing and deflecting from his behavior. He called me overly emotional when I cried over how violated I felt. This feels so wrong, like I committed a thought crime. So Aita for insisting he's 100% wrong. I'm so mad, but I am doubting whether my reaction was proportional to what he did. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being terrible, what would you rate someone reading your journal? And would you apologize for the things you wrote? Edit. Thank you all for your comments. I am overwhelmed. For those suggesting therapy, I have been in it for a long time, and I credit it for listening to the little voice in my head instead of ignoring it. Therapy gave me the insight to see what he was doing in real time. But to those saying YTA and ESH, all I can say is that this type of behavior has been normalized so much for me, and I have been gaslit for so long, that I automatically convinced myself it wasn't that bad. I feel like I'm emerging from the upside down, and I have to relearn basic social norms. You have no idea how sad all of this makes me. Update, we talked today, and he continued to minimize what he did and kept steering the conversation to how hurt he was reading what I wrote. I kept asking him if I shared those things willingly with him. When he said no, I told him that he can then deal with the consequences of his own actions by himself. I kept stressing to him what a big violation it was and that I needed space to think. I guess he's been stewing about it for the last few hours because tonight he started to yell at me in front of our kids and angrily tell them about what I wrote. He literally told them that I don't like that they are from his culture. Fuck man, why are you hurting them? To hurt me? I was pleading with him to stop and trying to cover his mouth, the kids were shrieking and sobbing, and he was yelling and wild-eyed. The chaos of tonight just broke me. I had flashbacks of my childhood, screaming and crying on a stairwell watching my dad go after my mom. Long ago, I had promised that I would never put my kids through something like that. I tried to get them out of the house since he wasn't stopping, but we only got as far as my car where the three of us sat crying while I kept apologizing to them and trying to reassure them. God, how did I get to this point? Update. I will keep the update itself brief. The kids and I are safe, and I am divorcing my husband. The incident that I posted about was so jarring that I could no longer downplay the abuse. I understood then that it would be so much worse for my kids to grow up in a household like that than to grow up with divorced parents. I did want to take this opportunity to talk to the people who seemed flabbergasted that I had not left him earlier. I know Reddit can be cruel sometimes, but to shame someone for staying in an abusive relationship is just so ignorant. A person stays with an abuser for a myriad of reasons: fear, shame, mental health issues, lack of resources, lack of support, lack of money, the partner's coercive control, etc. Please educate yourself on abusive relationships before writing judgmental comments. In my case, I stayed because he was so good at manipulating and gaslighting, at sowing doubt and confusion, that I started taking notes during arguments because I felt like I was going crazy. He would say things and then deny up and down that he said them. He would tell me that I misinterpreted his words or that I had a bad memory or that I had anger issues. Meanwhile, he was the one punching at walls, breaking things, lying, and following me from room to room as I was trying to get away from him. After years and years of this, I left only when I saw how much staying would hurt my kids. To those in emotionally abusive relationships like mine, I want you to know that I see you. This is real abuse, even if it doesn't leave physical scars. New updates. Aita forgoing low contact with my husband when he joined a dating site after we explicitly agreed to wait until after our divorce. In May 2022, I took a break from my marriage because my husband's verbal abuse was escalating. He moved out for a few weeks. Some of the things that he said during our last fight, but had said many times before, were that I'm a failure, no one likes me, and I'm socially awkward. I have a graduate degree, I make good money, and I have friends, but I still believed him. During our separation, I signed up for a dating site. This was not to date or hook up with anyone, and I did not meet up or talk with anyone. It was only to see if I was really as undesirable as he made me out to be. He was wrong, I felt better about myself, and I deleted my account. Like Ross from Friends, I thought this was okay since we were on a break. I recognized that I should have set ground rules with my husband during the break, and I apologized to him about that. We tried to work on our marriage but, as those who read my other posts know, I am divorcing him. This time during our separation, we set ground rules. One of them, at his request, was that we refrain from dating sites and dating in general until the divorce is finalized. We both agreed. 2 days ago, I got a bank notification about some weird charges. When I looked into it, I saw that he had joined 2 dating apps and mistakenly charged our joint account. I took a screenshot and sent it to him without comment. He responded that it was okay for him to do that because I did it in the past. When I mentioned that we discussed and agreed to not do that, he said, "I'm just doing what you did." I said he was the one who specifically asked that we not join sites until the divorce was finalized, but again, he said that I did it last time, so it's okay that he did it. He's now acting overly friendly so that I will let this issue go, but I feel deceived and can't go back to trying to be amicable with him. I decided to limit our conversations to our mediation sessions, but he continues to insist he did nothing wrong and is accusing me of withdrawing, like I always do, and of making the divorce contentious. Aita for being bothered by what he did. I don't trust him, which makes me want to pull away, but maybe he's right that I don't know how to respond in a healthy way. He always accuses me of overreacting to things or of having unhealthy emotional responses, so if someone could please tell me what the healthy way to respond to this would be, I'm all ears. The other side. Several months ago, I turned to Reddit because I knew something was wrong in my marriage, but I needed an outside perspective to tell me how wrong. I was the proverbial frog in boiling water. Since then, I've asked myself repeatedly why I didn't leave earlier. Then I remembered that I did try to end things a couple of months after we started dating. He was love-bombing me, and I felt smothered. When I told him that I wanted space, he was devastated. I see now that that was the turning point. I prioritized his feelings over mine. I gave him the benefit of every doubt. I convinced myself that the red flags I was seeing were aberrations. It hurts thinking about how much precious time I wasted on him. Here's my update, then. I moved into my new place 2 days ago, our home closed escrow, and the details of our divorce are finalized. These past few months were a unique kind of hell, but I am now bursting with hope and happiness. I am finally free of him. Stories number 9. Stepmother is trying to hide her inviting her dad to my baby shower. I, 23F, am expecting my first baby with my partner, 26M, and while I should be excited, I'm instead caught in a web of family drama I didn't ask for. A bit of background: I was primarily raised by my dad after my mom passed. He remarried when I was 13 to my stepmother, Mary, 53F, and our relationship has always been rocky. She's overbearing, boundary stomping, and made my teenage years hell by constantly inserting herself in ways that felt more about control than care. Worse, some serious safety boundaries were violated in my childhood. I was molested by my grandparents, and I still hold my dad and Mary partially responsible for failing to protect me. I've worked through a lot of that in therapy, but it's important context here. Mary decided to host a baby shower separate from the one being planned with my partner's side of the family and our actual friends. She insisted on it being at my dad and Mary's house, and I reluctantly agreed for the sake of peace. My dad has communicated to me so many times over the years that he wants us to be a real family, and I'm trying. Here's where it really blew up. My dad recently confided in me, and begged me not to say anything, that Mary invited her father to the shower. This is a man who is openly racist, bigoted, and hyper-religious. I've never had a good relationship with him, and she knows this. She also knows I don't want him around me, much less my future child. In fact, if you look at my post history on my profile, you'll see there was another incident regarding her involving him in my life events a couple months ago from my college graduation. She was planning to keep his attendance a secret until the day of the shower. So now I'm faced with this situation: someone who has disrespected my boundaries for years, who enabled an unsafe environment for me as a kid, is once again doing what she wants. This time, it's at an event that's supposed to be about celebrating a new life I'm bringing into the world, with all of her extended family involved, and my dad is essentially just saying, "Well, you know, Mary." After talking it over with my partner, we've decided that I will still attend the shower. When I see her dad there, I plan to act surprised, then pull Mary aside and calmly tell her that due to her ongoing inability to respect basic boundaries, and now putting her interests above the emotional safety of me and my son, we will no longer be allowing her to be involved in our child's life beyond superficial visits. Specifically, she will not be allowed to watch him alone, or be part of his adolescence in any meaningful way. I view this as a pattern, not a one-off. I'm done gambling with our safety and emotional well-being. But my dad is upset, says it's just one afternoon, and that I'm overreacting and holding on to the past. I feel like this isn't just about the past but a continuation of the same toxic dynamic he's allowed to happen over the past decade. I just don't understand why I'm continuously expected to allow this behavior to occur in order to have a relationship with my dad, who I do genuinely care about. Stories number 10. Aita for refusing to do something special on my wedding day for my sister because she refused to do something for me at hers. I, 30F, I'm getting married this Sunday, and my sister Jessica, 28F, got married 2 years ago. A couple of weeks before her wedding my ex left me for another woman, and it was devastating because I thought that he was going to propose soon. At my sister's wedding I asked her if she could throw the bouquet to me as to wish me luck, but she refused and said that she didn't want to damage it. I asked her to lend it to me for a couple of pics instead and she refused that too. I said nothing more and I didn't bring it up again until now. "Okay, my sister is pregnant and wants to announce it at my wedding," she asked, and I said absolutely not. When she asked why, I told her that the wedding is for my fiancé and I, too. She didn't do what I asked her to do at her wedding, so why would I do what she asks in mine? She's pissed and says that I'm being ridiculous. Our mother says that I'm being childish. Edit: tomorrow is the wedding and my sister is currently not talking to me, and neither is my mother. I cannot uninvite them but I'm very concerned. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA for not wanting a pregnancy announcement at your wedding but I guarantee she's going to make one. Commenter 2, you can absolutely guarantee she or your mother will announce it at your wedding anyway. Commenter 3, drop a note to the MC or the DJ to mute the mic if sister/mom wants to start talking about the pregnancy. Commenter 4, NTA. The flower thing was a much smaller ask and she couldn't do it for you. Announcing your pregnancy at someone else's wedding is insanity. Update. First of all, thank you so much for all the advice and support. I wanted to clarify a couple of things. I wanted a photo with the bouquet for myself. My ex wouldn't have seen it anyway, as I go strictly no contact after breakups. Some people were also concerned that I expected her photographer to take pictures of me for free. That wasn't the case. Her wedding was very low cost, and I was actually the photographer, so I just meant I wanted to take a selfie. Now for the update. I had a talk with my mother and sister beforehand and clearly told them that if either of them announced the pregnancy or made it obvious in any way, I would go no contact with them for good. They either didn't believe me or didn't care. My wedding was also low cost. On my side, the only family attending were my mom, stepdad, uncle, sister, and brother-in-law. My now husband only had his mother there. The rest of the guests were 5 friends we both invited. There were no speeches or anything formal planned. The ceremony went smoothly, and we moved to the reception area. As soon as we sat down, my sister said she had something to share. I looked at her and said, "No, you don't." It was awkward, since most people there had no idea what was going on. In my country, wedding gifts are usually given after the cake. Well, my mother handed my sister her gift and said, "The new mom also deserves some recognition." That was it for me. My sister started crying happy tears and even had the audacity to try to hug me. I stepped aside and told both of them that the celebration was over, for them. They left, because my stepdad and brother-in-law finally realized I wasn't joking. I haven't responded to any of their calls or messages. I'm done. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, so there were only 11 guests at your wedding and 6 of them had nothing to do with your sister. And of the remaining 5, 3 already knew, sister, mom and Bill. So the announcement was just for your uncle and stepfather? Why was it so important to announce it at the wedding then? I don't understand. NTA. Reply, stepdad already knew, my uncle didn't. But my uncle didn't like what his sister, my mother, and niece did. Commenter 2, NTA. They asked, you said no, that should have been the end of it, but they were hell-bent on announcing it and stealing your day. They could have announced it the day before, the day after, but no, they went against your expressed wishes and just had to announce it during your wedding celebrations. They think that the world is their stage and they deserve the spotlight to be on them at all times, and can't imagine other people being actually real and having their own lives that exist outside of their scripted universe. You are right to drop the rope and move on without them. Commenter 3, why were they so dead set on announcing the pregnancy to your friends? If your extended family were there, they'd have the excuse that all the family was conveniently gathered, but in this case, their only audience was a group of people who just won't care that a man banged his wife and successfully impregnated her. Commenter 4, now breathe, don't respond, don't engage. NTA again. Stories number 11. My 27M, wife, 29F, has given up on our child, 10F. I'm not sure how to reconcile. How do I move past this? My 27M, family's broken, and I'm trying to reassemble the pieces. I need advice. For context, my wife, 29F, and I are childhood sweethearts married now for around 5 years. I know we became parents and got married pretty young, but we've made it work. My wife's a small business owner. She turned a passion into a career. I'm really happy for her. When she started, I promised her that since my work hours were flexible, I'd hold things down at home so she could focus on building her business. We were a team until we weren't. My wife's an extreme workaholic, and it's come between our family. We're not in a good place. Our daughters, 10F, caregiving is solely on me. The time my wife and daughter spend together is made up mostly of short replies or silence. Our daughter isn't disrespectful. She's a good kid. She's just not as comfortable with her mom. My wife and I have had a lot of talks about the state of our family. With the business well off the ground and her not needing to personally oversee everything as often, we're working on reconnecting. It's been an uphill battle. Recently, we had a bad fight. She told me she's given up on trying with our daughter. She said she's not good at it, and she's just going to stay in her lane. I told her she couldn't decide to clock out on our daughter during rocky stints. She said she's emotionally exhausted from repeatedly striking out. She feels she can't do anything right in our daughter's eyes. She said I have it easy, that our daughter prefers me, and even made sure her whole class knew it. The class jab was about a school assignment. Our daughter had to interview someone she admired, and she asked me. My wife was hurt. She still feels a way about it. She accused me of not understanding. She comes home to a child she carried not respecting her. That our daughter's an expert critic when it comes to her. She went into a huge rant. The way she talked about her rubbed me the wrong way. I told her most of her complaints weren't our daughter's creation. She asked me what that meant, and I laid it out that she hasn't gone out of her way to connect with our daughter. She shut me down. She went into how she busts her ass for our family, and the least I could do is show up for her. All I do is show up for her, including holding down responsibilities that we're supposed to share. We aren't childless. It's no longer those me and her against the world days. I need to show up for our daughter too. She just kept saying she has a lot on her plate and how I'm supposed to be her piece. I refuted the only piece that ever seemed to matter these days was hers. She said our daughter and I are two of a kind and began sarcastically apologizing for her sacrifices, and if the business is what's driving us apart, then she'll renounce it. She'd make do. I asked if we could skip her martyr routine and actually talk. The fight only escalated. I called the fight a complete waste of time, but she interpreted that as me calling her a waste of time. It was the worst fight we had in a while. Our daughter was at her grandparents', so she didn't hear anything. We're at an impasse. Things are still tense. How to clear the air or how to reach her about our daughter. She can't dismiss her like some disgruntled customer at work. In a lot of ways, I feel like a single parent. I don't believe she's being honest with herself about our issues. She's a distant figure who has a habit of talking at our daughter instead of to her. There are a lot of broken promises. Nothing ever mended. She doesn't try engaging. Our daughter loves anime, but my wife doesn't hold back on overly criticizing it in front of her. Our daughter got into K-pop, but to my wife it's just bothersome noise around the house or in the car. Our daughter has stage fright. Yet she joined a school play because she knows her mom loves theater. My wife promised her she'd come. She didn't. The worst part was seeing our daughter realize she wasn't. My wife never apologized. She gave her, work was busy. I promise next time, speech. She offered to bring our daughter with her on Take Your Child to Work Day. I thought it'd be good for them and a chance for our daughter to see more of what her mom does. But our daughter called me upset and wanted me to pick her up. She said her mom had immediately left her with a subordinate and went AWOL. When my wife checked in on her, they fought. She told our daughter that a bratty attitude won't be tolerated in her workplace. She and I had it out later. She apologized to our daughter and blamed blowing up on work frustration. She offered to bring her back another day, but our daughter refused. My wife always felt she was bad at articulating her feelings. She feels she comes off aggressive. That's partly why she leaves our daughter's caretaking to me. But this fight has me questioning the nature of our relationship. I don't doubt she loves our daughter. I saw it firsthand during the pregnancy, and in our private conversations, she couldn't stop gushing about her. I felt her love in the little things. Something changed over time. My wife isn't close with her parents. She usually has me talk with them on her behalf. She has a mindset that parents/kids don't have to be close. She believes since she turned out fine, so will our daughter. I'm failing to help their relationship and our own. We barely have quality time. Intimacy is shot. When we're out together, we aren't really together because in public, she's hyper-aware and has her business persona on. What else to do? I'm at a loss. I'm not trying to bash my wife. I just want everyone to be okay. I'm in a fight for my family right now. How do I mend my wife's and daughter's relationship while also repairing my marriage? TLDR, my family's broken, and I'm trying to reassemble the pieces. My wife's an extreme workaholic, and it's come between our family. We're not in a good place. Our daughter's caregiving is solely on me. My wife and daughter's time together is mostly short replies/silence. We're working on reconnecting, but we had a bad fight. She's given up on trying to connect with our daughter. She said she's not good at it, and she's just going to stay in her lane. She feels she can't do anything right in our daughter's eyes. It was our worst fight in a while. Now we're at an impasse. In a lot of ways, I feel like a single parent. I'm failing to help their relationship. I just want everyone to be okay. How do I mend my wife's and daughter's relationship while also repairing my marriage? Stories number 12. Aita for leaving my sister's wedding early after she made me wear a neon green bridesmaid dress. I, 24F, was a bridesmaid in my older sister's, 28F, wedding last weekend. She's super into aesthetic themes, which is fine, but her chosen color scheme was neon green and hot pink. Think 2000s Nickelodeon slime meets Barbie's clubbing era. When I first saw the dress she picked for me, I thought it was a joke. It was this highlighter green satin thing that clung in all the wrong places and made me look like a walking glow stick. I asked her nicely if I could maybe wear a darker green or literally anything else, but she said no because it would ruin the vibe. Okay. Her wedding, her rules. I sucked it up. Fast forward to the day of the wedding. The ceremony goes fine, but the dress? It's attracting actual bugs. I'm sweating like I'm in a sauna. And people are staring. Not in the, how pretty way, but more like, did she lose a bet? Then during the reception, one of my sister's friends drunkenly calls me Shrek's prom date, within earshot of like 10 people. Everyone laughs. My sister hears it and laughs too. No, hey, that's my sister, no, don't be rude. Just straight up cackling. I was so embarrassed and honestly hurt. I smiled through it, but after the first dance, I quietly told her I wasn't feeling great and left early. Now she's mad. She says I abandoned her on the most important day of her life, and that I made it all about me by leaving. Even our mom is saying I should have just stayed and powered through because it's not that deep. But I wasn't trying to make a scene. I didn't even say anything to anyone. I just didn't want to keep standing around being the neon laughing stock. So, AITA for dipping out early after being humiliated in a dress I hated from the start. Comments. Commenter 1. Yikes, I am so sorry she did that to you. NTA at all, burn that thing. Commenter 2. Make a video post showing how awful the dress is and trashing your sister for choosing it and making you wear it. Then you can burn it on video. Reply, LMAO, imagine the caption, Shrek's prom date, the revenge. I swear if I post it, y'all better hype it up like it's a Marvel trailer. Commenter 3. OP, your best revenge is to have the most elegant wedding possible. Select drop-dead gorgeous dresses that complement each bridesmaid perfectly, understated elegant makeup and hair, sophisticated flowers and decorations, and do not invite her to participate. She just comes as a regular old guest. You did nothing wrong. A grown-up approaches a wedding with the dignity that respects the significance of the day. Not a club dance party vibe from the 1980s. Your sister lacks class. You acted with an abundance of it. I'm positive that the contrast was noted by discerning people. NTA, update, hi again. First off, thank you to everyone who commented, upvoted, or even just quietly thought, damn, poor girl. I didn't expect the post to blow up, but y'all made me feel way less crazy for walking out of that wedding looking like radioactive string cheese. So, a lot has happened since I posted. My sister saw the Reddit post. Yep. Someone sent it to her. I don't know if it was a cousin, a frenemy, or one of her hot pink bridesmaids, but she called me the next morning livid. Said I publicly embarrassed her, and that I made the wedding look like a joke. I told her, very calmly, that she did that all by herself with the Nickelodeon color palette and by laughing when someone called me Shrek's prom date. We argued, not gonna lie, I cried, she cried. I think she was more hurt that I didn't pretend to enjoy myself, and I was hurt that she didn't care how uncomfortable I felt the entire time. I asked her flat out, would you have stayed if the roles were reversed? Her silence said everything. Our mom is still in keep the peace mode and said maybe we both overreacted. But guess who texted me later that day? The drunk friend who made the Shrek joke. She apologized. Apparently, she didn't realize it would hit so hard and said she thought we were all in on the same vibe. Spoiler, we were not. Also, and this is the funny part, one found out that another bridesmaid left early too. She didn't say anything because she didn't want to be rude, but she felt like a walking glow stick too. So I guess I wasn't alone in my highlighter pain. As for my sister and I, were taking space. We haven't talked much this week. I don't hate her, but I think we both need a breather before we pretend everything's fine at family dinners. TLDR, sister found the Reddit post. Drama happened. Shrek joke friend apologized. Another bridesmaid also dipped. Still glowing, literally and emotionally, but standing my ground. And yes, I did burn the dress. Okay, no, I didn't, but I might use it as a Halloween costume. Radioactive regret. Comments. Commenter 1. Tell your mom she can keep the peace. But you rather have a mom that stands by your side and defends her daughter when she gets hurt on purpose. By not taking sides, she is exactly doing that. Taking sides. Commenter 2. I loathe the term, keep the peace, and would get it into the sun if I could. Stories number 13. In-laws straining my marriage, but it's my fault apparently. First post, so bear with me. About a year ago, me, 28F, and my husband, 30M, allowed my BL, 19M, to move in with us to get him out of a rough situation and help him start adulting. This was about May of last year. I agreed to have him move in with the promise from BIL and husband that it was only going to be a couple of months until BIL found a roommate to move out with. He is also to pay some rent monthly as he has a full-time job now, keep his area clean, and help out around the house. Keep in mind I have 2 children under the age of 5 and also work, and I'm still the housekeeper. Cleaning, cooking food, etc. While my husband also works about 60 hours a week. Fast forward those couple of months, no luck on finding a roommate. BL still living with us. Okay, he's young. I'm just gonna give him some more time to figure this out. I'm trying to be understanding and gracious, as I also had some help getting on my feet at this age. I have confronted BL a few times asking, so how is the roommate search going? You found an apartment yet? only to be answered with shrugs and, I don't know. I will say, at this point I'm starting to feel in the dark with what is actually going on. As in, is there even a plan of him moving out? Is he even looking for a roommate or an apartment? Husband says just give him more time and that he's working on it. Frustrated, it's Christmas time now and he's requesting to have his girlfriend of 2 years, who lives out of state, to move in too with the promise that she has a job and they will move out in 1 month. I tell my husband that I'm not comfortable with it, as BIL was not supposed to be here at this time in the first place. Husband says I'm overreacting and starts making comments of making me sound like I don't care about his family. Angry, I just shut down and keep my mouth shut to avoid the argument, my next mistake. Girlfriend moves in and surprise, doesn't have a job and claims she's been looking for one for 3 months now since living under my roof. Fast forward to now. Rent is not being paid anymore, the cleaning of their own areas have stopped, and there has been absolutely no trying to find a way to move out of my home. I've quit asking bail questions to keep myself from being furious and directed the questions towards my husband. At this point I'm done trusting that my husband has any plan or control in this whole situation, which is driving me insane. Anytime I bring it up to my husband, I'm met with hostility and accusations of just wanting to throw his family out on the street and that I shouldn't be upset with this because I agreed to it. Agreed to what? Yes, I agreed to BL moving in for a couple of months, yes I graciously gave him extra time to figure things out. At this point I no longer feel comfortable in my own home and every day me and my husband argue about it which always turn into very ugly outcomes. We don't even sleep in the same bed anymore. I'm annoyed that I've been conned into taking on 2 grown adults, while trying to raise my own family. I'm angry that I'm being made out to be the bad guy when all I wanted was to be helpful. I don't know what to do anymore. I guess my main question to the Reddit world is, Aita, because I let this all happen in the first place. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, it is your fault. You allowed yourself to get into this situation because you have no backbone and you're allowing yourself to be treated like a welcome mat. You need an adult meeting with the 4 of you. You need a timeline of when these adults are leaving your home. If your husband doesn't support this, you need a timeline of when you're removing yourself and your children from this environment. You need to follow through. Your NTA though. Reply, thanks for the honesty, I do feel it is my fault for allowing it to go this far without any real action on my part. I guess this is a learning opportunity for me to not internalize my feelings until it's too late. Commenter 2, NTA, but that sounds like a terrible situation. Something you may not have considered, if the GF or BL go the legal route, because they have been there that long they could actually fight being evicted. Your husband is the AH in this case. Tell him he has to clean up their area, make their dinner etc. Any food they eat should come out of his spending money. Commenter 3, you have a DH problem. Get into marriage counseling. Find alternate housing for you and the kids, now, if counseling doesn't work out. Take your kids and visit family or friends for a couple of weeks and let him sort it out with his brother and then tell him the condition that you will return home is when they are gone or you won't return and you can divorce. Commenter 4, NTA. You're effectively a doormat for your scheming and conniving husband. Either take the kids and split, or throw the husband and freeloaders out. If you don't, you'll be in the exact same position 10 years from now. Update 1. BL, 19M, and his GF has overstayed their welcome in my, 28F, and my husband's, 30M, home. 10+ months for the BIL and 3+ months for the GF. I was conned into the whole situation when both husband and BL said it would only be for a couple months, which was last May. Rent has stopped being paid, cleaning of their own areas stopped and there has been no attempt of them to leave my home. I'm uncomfortable in my own home and my husband absolutely blows up at me anytime I bring it up, and accuses me of hating his family and wanting to throw them out on the street. Aita, first I would like to say thank you all for the different perspectives. Most of all the responses said I should just kick all 3 of them out and say good riddance. I will say, some of the responses gave me a good little laugh in this extremely frustrating situation, so thank you for that too. Taking everything into consideration, I gave my husband an ultimatum last night and I'm sticking to it. They need to be gone by June 1st, with all rent paid according to how I had laid it out, or else I'm moving out with the kids into an apartment. I'm also not cooking for them, just enough for me and the kids. All laundry detergents and toiletries will be kept in my closet and internet passwords will be changed. Now, before I get 2 months is too much time for them, hear me out. This is also time for me to get my ducks in a row should I actually be moving out. Which, in theory, I'll know by mid-May if they aren't moving out if they don't have anything lined up by then. I really do doubt my husband is wanting this to actually happen, me and the kids moving out, but I wouldn't put it past him thinking that I'm bluffing. All in all, I would hope it doesn't have to come to that point. I am happy to learn though after sketching a quick budget, that I would be able to support me and both of my children with my own income if worst came to worst. Thanks again. Relevant comments. What did OOP's husband say after she told him? Reply, he was surprisingly not as hostile as he usually has been. I say, not as, because there was no yelling/swearing. He pretty much said I was overreacting and crazy to think that would even need to happen in the first place since they'll be out by then. If you could see my eye roll right now, SMH. Commenter 1, yeah, he doesn't believe you have any intention of actually leaving. I would let him know if you leave there will be no reconciling and you will divorce and demand the house be sold, so one way or another they will be moving out. Reply, I do see what you're saying, because I thought about how to go about selling the house if I leave. I will be honest and say that at this exact moment I'm not looking for divorce. I'm willing to give him the opportunity to at least try to salvage the mess he created. Unfortunately, it might just take me stepping out to realize where he messed up. On the other hand, if it does turn into divorce, at least I'll already have me and my kids established in a new place. Commenter 2, based on how your husband has dealt with this situation, I hope he is not calling your bluff, but be ready. Good luck. Commenter 3, I think your husband thinks you're bluffing and he'll try and con you again. He might say they'll move out and then guilt you for the next 2 months. And then sometime in May, he'll tell you that they need just a little more time. Be prepared for more bargaining and guilt tripping. Do not negotiate with them. I wish you luck. I hope your husband chooses well. NTAH. Commenter 4, NTA, I suggest 2 other things to help motivate your husband and show him how serious you are. Get an attorney to prepare a legal separation document. In this document, make sure you have sole decision making for your 2 children. Moving out is not just living in an apartment, it also means you have to be responsible in case your kids are sick, etc. The second thing is to prepare a demand letter for the back rent. Both of these documents are intended to show your husband that his lack of action is the reason your marriage is failing. He needs to understand how serious this is, and it is not an empty threat. You're already sleeping in separate rooms. I can't imagine how dumb he is and why he is not treating your children as more important than his brother and GF. His priorities are all screwed up. Good luck. ETA, do this now, don't wait until June 1st. The objective is to avoid moving out, so this will motivate your husband. But meanwhile, keep looking for a new apartment, just in case. Update 2, BL, 19M, has overstayed his welcome at my, 28F, home for a year now. Moved in his GF, was not paying rent, GF went 3 months under my roof with no job and neither one of them contributing to the house. I work, have 2 kids under the age of 5, and at my wit's end. My husband, 30M, yells at me constantly for wanting to kick them out, and it's not that bad. So here we are, getting really close to June 1st, and yes, they are still living in my house. Here's where things are getting gray for me and need all the advice possible. I recently got diagnosed with stage 2 hypertension and working on getting that under control. I have chronic anxiety and experience rolling panic attacks that last for up to a week, sometimes twice a year. Since my last post I had a 4-day episode, as well as the diagnosis. Doc says I'm far too young to have a diastolic pressure chilling at 97 and will be dead in 15 years if I don't make changes now. Since then, I have been stepping back and focusing on me. Getting healthy, losing weight, etc. With that said, my husband has been a lot nicer to me and helping out around the house so I can focus on myself and my kids. The constant shouting has basically stopped, the gaslighting is non-existent, and for once I actually feel confident about my future. Since the diagnosis, the energy in my house has completely changed, and what I feel may be for the better. BIL's girlfriend has gotten a full-time job at the end of last month and to my surprise, has been sticking to it. Also, rent has been paid since me laying down the law back in March. They have picked up the cleaning routine, buy their own groceries, and actually seem to be doing well for themselves. Shoot, the GF has even been helping me out with the kids if I seem too stressed. They are actively looking at apartments and attempting to move out. But, it's looking like they are wanting to push out the June 1st deadline. Would I be showing myself as a doormat if I let them have a couple more weeks? Or is it my obligation to follow through with the deadline I gave in the beginning? I have a feeling my husband did have a lot to do with them getting their shit together, which I'm grateful for. Kinda sucks that I have to risk a stroke in order to get through to him though, that's another topic for a different day I think. Next morning update, I put my kids down for the night last night and I brought the deadline up to my husband again. I calmly asked, hey, June 1st is coming up, any progress? No. Are you going to talk to them about it? No. Then he flipped. Really bad. Starting yelling at me at the top of his lungs. I told him we had an agreement and then he basically told me to hell with the agreement. I lost it, guys. I told him it's obvious he doesn't care about me or my feelings and that he's welcome to leave with them too. He says, okay, tell me when you want me out. I told him June 1st was already the date. He shut down, stopped talking. He stormed out the door. Said he wasn't going to fight about it tonight. I tried calling and messaging him, no response. He turned off his location. He came back late last night, doesn't say a word. Wakes up this morning and then tries to small talk with me. Like nothing happened. I ignored it all. Not because I'm trying to be petty, but because I genuinely don't know how to process this. My oldest wakes up today and asks, why is daddy not staying at our house anymore? So knowing that my 4-year-old heard all of this commotion is divesting me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Please don't let them stay for a couple more weeks because it won't be a couple more weeks. The reason they're all being nice now is because you got a health scare. Be honest with yourself and ask yourself if this change would have happened if you didn't need to focus on yourself more. Once you get better, or see that you look better regardless of how you're truly feeling, they'll go back to the old ways. Stick to the June 1st deadline, and now you have even more reason, although you didn't need one before, to not want to have to deal with other people at home, where it should be your safe space to relax and not worry about whether they'll keep pretending to be nice or how long it's gonna last. I hope you get better and I truly wish you all the best. Reply, thank you for the advice, I put an update in the post. Last night didn't go well at all. Looks like I may be a single mom now. Looking back, I definitely see where I was putting myself last to save the peace, but for what? My kids need me alive and happy. If anyone is going to be put first over myself, it's going to be my kids. Period. Point blank. Does OOP have any family she can go to? Reply, my parents are close in proximity to me and they know everything that's going on and are ready for me and my kids to move in at moment's notice if needed. I'll be working on eviction notices, because the house is in my name. I know that I said in previous posts that I was going to move out, but I decided it's not my place to leave this house. It's theirs. OOP shares her feelings. Reply, confused, hurt, angry, everything, just trying to process. Commenter 2, is the house under your name only or you and your husband? If you leave, it can be considered abandonment. Don't do it. On the first, if they haven't left, call law enforcement to have them removed. Reply, it's under both of our names but I am the main borrower. Don't know if that helps me or not. Yeah, I'm not going to leave, but I've been working with a lawyer to see what my options are. It really is playing chess at this point. What is the next step for OOP? Reply, divorce papers on the way. Stories number 14. Aita, for basically telling my in-laws this is my house, if you don't like my rules get out. I, 25, recently moved into my house. My girlfriend, 27, and I had a little housewarming. Her family, my mother and a few of our friends. We were eating outdoors and the kids had their own table. My girlfriend's nephew, 8, knocked over a jug of dilute. I was at the table when it happened and it was clearly an accident. He was very polite and apologized. He was a little upset but I just laughed it off. His father came over and I was shocked at how much his father gave out to him. I told him it was only an accident etc. and he kept going. I felt really guilty for not stopping it. He ran over to the corner of the garden and started crying. His father went back to the table and he said what happened and his wife said he deserved that, he should stay there a long time or something along those lines. There was almost a snigger from some of her family. Anyway, I went over to the boy a couple of minutes later. I gave him a bar of chocolate. He was still crying. He said sorry again. I gave him a high five and taught him this high five I used to do as a kid. His mother came over and said, do you mind not talking to my son? He needs to think about what he did wrong and he needs to do that alone. I took her and her husband aside and said, this is my house, if you want to upset your kid don't do it here. If you don't like it get out. I swear the reaction that followed was insane. They went back to the table saying it. My mom said, never holding back, didn't I raise a great son? He's spot on not to let bullies in his house. Which erupted it even more. My girlfriend spoke to me in private and asked me to apologize to them. I said no. I stand by what I said and, this part 1 regret a bit, I told her I think less of her for even asking me to apologize. A mate of mine and his son kicked ball with the boy and I. He actually gave me a hug, I don't do hugs, at the end of the party and said sorry again. He hugged so tightly for a couple of seconds, I really could go on about the drama but in short her family thought I was wrong. I was getting little digs etc. My girlfriend's friend came up privately and said I was right to step in. My girlfriend is still pushing for me to apologize. I still don't think I did anything wrong. I didn't tell them how to parent but told them to leave if that's how they want to parent. If I'm being completely honest, I didn't say this, I'm not sure I'd want a kid with a family like that. Aggro over spilled FNG flavored water. Wow, there's so many messages. Apologies, but I can't respond to all. Some of the common answers to responses. Agreed, what must they be like in private? Snigger is a word, at least in the UK. My mother is the best mother any kid could have had. Yeah, it puts a big hole in my future with my girlfriend. Update on telling my in-laws to get out of my house after the way they acted after their son spilled some water. This isn't Ada but a bit of a rant. Not sure if many remember. My girlfriend's nephew spilled flavored water at my housewarming and shit hit the fan. That happened about 2 months ago. So not long after I made the post my girlfriend and I broke up. Honestly, the more I thought about the situation, the more annoyed I became by it. Wednesday evening, my ex-girlfriend called me and asked me to come over. I went over. I thought she might want to try to get back together, but that wasn't it. She was minding her nephew for a few nights. She said there was a mark on his arm, but he said he wouldn't tell her. She said she didn't know who else to call. I played a bit of football with him. And after a bit I asked him what happened to his arm. He said he didn't know. I asked him a few more questions and he got really upset. I gave him a hug, probably shouldn't have, and said you're not in trouble, etc. It went on a bit and eventually he said his dad did it. I asked does he do it often to him. He said it was just the once because he was really angry. I believe it was the once. He did admit his parents do other stuff that I would consider abusive. I told my ex-girlfriend. She said she's shocked. I don't think it was shocking. She said she can't ring social services and asked if I would. So I rang them. They will take it seriously once his parents are home from their holiday, apparently. The poor little lad. Stories number 15. This might be the straw that makes me pull the plug on this whole relationship. My husband has anger issues. He goes from 0 to 100 at the smallest inconvenience. We don't get into screaming matches, he doesn't hit me, and he doesn't break things, but, for example, if he's trying to walk through a door and one of our dogs gets in the way, he will erupt with something like, God fucking damn it, get out of my damn way. I hate how you're always in the goddamn way. Again, he's not physically violent, so it's not like he kicks the dog, which is probably why I've been telling myself things aren't so bad. I'm not going to go into how I've tried to address it because this is an off-my-chest post and not a relationship advice post. Suffice it to say that while things have gotten slightly better since my attempts to bring it up, the core problem is still there and he doesn't see it as needing to be addressed. But then yesterday happened. I am writing this is because, yesterday when I got our 3-year-old up and was changing her out of her nighttime pull-up, she said to me, Mommy, are you happy? I said, yes baby I am. Do I make you happy? Now, I have conflicted feelings about this because I don't think anyone makes someone else happy and no one should feel in charge of making sure someone else is happy, besides a parent to their kids, but that's different, but she's 3 so this philosophical nuance is a little above her, so I just said yes and gave her kisses. Then she said, I don't make daddy happy. He's mad all the time. I didn't know what to say. I fumbled around with something like, you don't have to make anyone happy, and, of course daddy loves you, and, let's go have breakfast. It's just that, he insists he's not angry when his tone says otherwise. I've said to him that he seems angry to me and if I can't tell that he's not angry, when he sounds very angry, then she won't be able to tell either and he shrugged me off insisting that he's not angry, so there's no problem. And now I have proof that she sees it and that it is affecting her and my beautiful, empathic child doesn't think she makes daddy happy. This breaks my heart. I feel like I know what I have to do but it's not going to be easy and I hate it. My poor sweet little girl. Stories number 16. Ada for still not allowing access to my stepdaughter in my house and near her brothers. My husband, 40M, has 2 kids from his previous marriage, Liam 15M and Jessie 17F. We also have a son together 3M. Out of his kids Liam was always the sweet, easygoing one and Jessie was more problematic, but last year she started showing concerning behavior. She initially became rude and cruel and later on violent towards her brother. I suspected drugs use or mental health and voiced my concerns, but her parents were sure she was just having a phase and it will pass. This same phase got her suspended for swearing on her teachers and beating a girl in her class. Her parents punished her but still they downplayed everything was happening. Things got so bad and the final straw was when I came home from the supermarket and found Liam hurt because Jessie threw a heavy crystal vase at him and caused him a head injury. I informed my husband and rushed Liam to the hospital. When we got back home my husband had to restrain Jessie because she had another outburst and tried to attack her brother again. She called him names, called me names, called my husband disgusting, AP3 do, I am younger than him, and threatened to hurt her brothers. I told Liam to pack a bag, I packed one for my son and I took the kids to a hotel. Liam was so shaken that night that he asked me if I would be willing to take custody of him too if I divorced my husband because he did not want to be near Jessie ever again. This broke my husband's heart but I made it clear to him that Jessie is never to step into our house again or come near the kids. I told him I understand he is in a difficult position, I would not hold it against him if he sticks to his daughter, but I had to protect the kids even if it meant we divorced. Ultimately my husband sent Jessie away to fully live with her mother. He still sees her, but she is not allowed to come to our house or near the boys. We changed the locks, installed security cameras and moved Liam to a different school. Liam has not seen his mother since last year. He will not go to her house where Jessie lives, and his mother refuses to see him as long as he refuses to forgive and meet with his sister. She tried to force him to go at her house, claiming she will take us to court, but Liam told her if she dares to do so he will press charges against Jessie for what happened last year. I have no idea if he can still press charges or if he was bluffing, but it made his mother stop. Jessie has been getting help and is medicated, and unfortunately I was right, it was mental health triggered when she started to do drugs. Now to the situation at hand. After everything that happened, Mael cut Jessie off, but Fael is certain that somehow I have the power to make it better. He has this idea that if I forgive her, I can convince Liam to forgive her too, and then Mael will also have contact with her and we will be a family again. I told him I have no intention of ever allowing Jessie in my house again. I am not forcing Liam to do anything, if he wants to forgive her he is free to do so. But I will not endanger a toddler and a teenager who was already assaulted by allowing access to an unstable, violent person. I understand she has issues, but the boys need to be protected, right? Stories number 17. Aita for telling my FIL he can't hump the floor at my house or in my presence. Crazy title, and I wish it weren't true, but here we are. Unfortunately I'm asking because I'm possibly in a state of being gaslit, or I actually can't take a joke and I can't see it. My FIL, late 50s, is known for being very playful, goofy some would even say. Well him, my MIL, late 50s, and 3 sibling in-laws, 20M and 27M 28F, married couple, came to stay with my husband and I at our home, 28F 30M, and to see our new LO, 7 months. Well, LO was put to bed and we were all in the living room area hanging out, doing stretches, just casually talking, when FIL decided it would be funny to start humping the ground out of nowhere. And unfortunately it was directly in front of me, not MIL. Mill and I looked at each other in shock while his children all laughed and chuckled. FIL made it clear that the gesture was meant for his wife despite it being directly in front of me, with eye contact, so we dropped it. The night passed, they left town, and after a few days of not being able to shake the image in my head, I decided to talk with my husband about how uncomfortable it made me, along with other sexual jokes he makes about us all being married and etc. There's been this big divide now on how I'm always ruining the fun, how it was just a joke and not a sexual gesture, and how I'll always find a problem when my husband's family is in town. His family thinks this, however, when I speak with my mom, sister, cousins, and anyone on my side of the world, they see his jokes and gesture as totally inappropriate. My FIL tried to make the point that I've done TikTok dances in his home with the other sibling-in-laws and my husband, and he's never felt uncomfortable because he knows they're harmless and that it's not fair for me to judge him about this versus knowing his intent, which was to just make a joke. My point is, even though I'm not on TikTok and I don't post videos, everything I've done is postable, him slow stroking the ground is not. My husband got mad at me for not seeing it as a joke, and so did the other married siblings who were in the room that were raised by FIL. So Aita for saying that my FIL humping the floor in my home/presence made me uncomfortable and drawing that boundary. I genuinely would appreciate feedback because I plan to have another conversation soon and I want to know that I'm coming into the conversation grounded in reality. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Can your husband explain the joke to you and his mother? Can FIL? Cause I don't get it either. Just straight up gross. Reply. This is a good point and I'm wondering if I should actually ask to see what the response is. Commenter 2. NTA, your in-laws are weird AF for enabling this behavior. Your husband is weird for getting upset you didn't get the joke. WTF. His father made you uncomfortable. I'd be sick to my stomach if I saw my FIL do that. And your husband's reaction is to get upset with you instead of address it with his dad? Gross, all around gross. Reply. I agree that the whole family is weird, husband included. It definitely has made me wonder if something happened in the home that makes this seem normal. Commenter 3. Why did you have a baby with someone before you examined these questions? Reply. This is my favorite question because never in a million years would I thought I needed to ask, does your dad hump floors and is this funny to you? Never. I'm just as shocked. Truthfully, what makes this even worse is that we're a very religious community. He's an elder/deacon in the church, we're all church-goers, worship leaders, musicians, all the things. So I had absolutely no reason to think this would have ever come up. Until it did. Commenter 4. In my experience the devout Christians are some of the sickest sexual deviants, and calling them out gets you the creepy gaslighting that you're experiencing. Update. All aboard for the Hot Mess Express. Firstly, thank you to all of the responses. I genuinely appreciate the kind, blunt, informative, funny, and not so nice comments because truly I was looking for all perspectives. It felt reassuring to see that majority, not all, of you felt like it was, in fact, inappropriate, gross, weird, odd, sick, and especially having folks that aren't like me, religious, jokesters, etc., still see the behavior as not the best. This is a 24-hour update. So the reason I followed up with my FIL/MIL wasn't because my FIL never apologized, he did. Reluctantly, but he did. I followed up with them because of one particular event that happened on the first phone call when my husband, yes, although mad at me, told them that I was uncomfortable. My FIL's immediate response to my husband, and I, saying I was uncomfortable was that he, FIL, was uncomfortable with the fact that I was uncomfortable and that this all made him feel bad because it's not fair that I was uncomfortable. He apologized and truly it could have stopped right there because truly he's entitled to his feelings. But it didn't stop there. It got back to me that he was telling the other in-laws, siblings, how I couldn't have fun, I ruin the fun when they're around, he's uncomfortable because I'm looking at him like that and that it hurts because I don't know him better, etc., etc., etc. Stuff came up about the TikTok dances and how there was room for interpretation regarding them being inappropriate etc. Let me clear one thing up, imagine dances like Millie Rock, Shoot, Dougie, 2000s hip-hop. Imagine church dances that you see in African American culture, since we're religious, like shouting, praising. That. There was no twerking, jiving, or gyrating. There were maybe 6, max 8, videos and half of them were religious-oriented. Nothing seductive, fully clothed, very appropriate. And actually there hasn't been a video of me dancing nor have I danced there in maybe the last 2 to 3 years. So let's just place that there. Okay. Him feeling upset wasn't a problem, it was the taking to the in-laws and word getting back to me and me being questioned about why I can't just enjoy the moments and the jokes. It was the, why can't you be happy around them? I explained that our beliefs and values don't align to my brother-in-law, BAL, which is who came to me. But for me, this meant one thing clearly, I can't say, I'm uncomfortable, and that simply be received. All of the side talk, BAL confirmed, showed me one thing. There clearly was tension and ill things being spoken, so my husband suggested I speak with my in-laws versus immediately separating myself. Maybe there was a misunderstanding, let's just talk it out and see. How did that conversation go? As you would expect, terrible. My in-laws were incredibly irate and yelled majority of the time. The part that hurt them the most was me talking to my mother, who's also a part of the church community. Talking to her meant that I, in their words, exposed him, and now she sees FIL in a different light. Their words. One part of the conversation sounded like this. FIL, how would you feel if I told folks you prostitute? Me, I would feel like that's a lie. Phil, exactly. That's how I feel. Me, except I didn't lie about anything. I just told my mom the facts and how it made me feel. MIL, well OP, doesn't feel like she lied so she doesn't understand. Me, where was the lie? I only told the facts. FIL, but OP you made me look bad. MIL, yeah OP you've now shown him in a different light and that doesn't show his character. He has a good heart. A lot of our conversation sounded like that. I'm also realizing a lot of the conversation was rooted in bullying, and that's the nice way of me saying it. Some of the comments sounded like, we can joke with all our married friends and married children about sexual conversation but we see we can't do that with you, MIL. We just can't make any jokes around you so I guess we probably need to be careful with how we talk. I don't know how I'll act around you now, MIL. What you did was bad and you shouldn't have told your family, FIL. To this point, all they know is that I talked to my mom. And what's interesting about this is that when I asked who should I have spoken to about my discomfort, the response was, well we're not saying who you can talk to but you shouldn't have told anybody about this, you could have come talk to MIL. I told them I wasn't safe to talk to MIL because of what I'm seeing in real time with the conversation we were having. Reddit readers, when I say it was a bunch of yelling, and insulting, saying don't be dumb, what you did is bad, etc., I'm not kidding. I told them, in the future, I hope the in-laws, their children's spouses, can come to them when something makes them uncomfortable and it be received. They said, aren't you being received now? And I said, no. I'm being met with screaming, insults, threats of being cut off. FIL said this, and that this is emotionally unsafe. I said that even with expressing myself, FIL is only getting angrier. He agreed. He explained that he's the adult and that I should listen and that's my problem. I shouldn't have talked to anyone, it made him look bad. He said that doesn't want to talk to me and will move differently with me. He no longer wants to come over to our home, thank the heavens. He yelled these things and when I asked him to stop yelling, he said no I'm mad. When I asked could he stop insulting, he said no maybe we don't need to talk. I said you're right, we don't if we can't respect each other. He said OP, you need to respect me. I said grab control, he said you grab control. We ended the call with him repeating leave me alone and crying very hard while yelling. I'm not kidding. Now let me say this, I never raised my voice, insulted, or overtalked anyone because I've seen this with my other sister-in-law, married into the family like me. It's easy to feel provoked and get into a screaming match, but when you're cool as a cucumber emotionally, that sends them over the edge. And that's what happened. And fortunately I documented the conversation for proof. How did it end? FIL kept repeating OP leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone, and I told him he's an autonomous being and that he's able to hang up the phone anytime he wants, so after saying leave me alone at least 4 to 5 times, he hung up. They called my husband, who was not present for this conversation, and didn't want to be, and simply told him the conversation was rough. Or at least that's what he told me, and I could tell the conversation lasted less than 10 minutes. My husband was overwhelmed with everything, and honestly I think some of you were spot on. He named the joke, sexual gesture, humping the ground, as inappropriate with me privately, but when he heard himself, after I reconfirmed, he said, no you, said it was inappropriate. He's done this a few times, so I really do believe he sees that it wasn't appropriate. I just think he's struggling to say it because that goes against all that he's been taught and whatever else happened in that home. Lastly, I'll say this. A few things that happened on the phone call with the in-laws that felt off were these. FIL named all the children-in-laws and stated that they all make these sexual jokes, and he said, why is it that even though I make them the most, you pick me out of them and you feel uncomfortable? I told him I feel uncomfy when everybody does it and have spoken out about it, but the humping took it too far, and now I'm bringing it to the forefront because there is a power dynamic. He's a father, an elder, deacon, leader, grandfather, etc. not a peer. They questioned why I'm trying to make FIL look bad. And I asked why was the joke not what made him look bad? Why is it that me talking to my mother the part that makes them upset and feel as though he looks bad? I asked if their daughter dealt with this with her FIL, how would they feel? Would they want her to feel comfortable talking to them? No answer. Only, she can talk to her own MIL. They've said I've made them uncomfortable before in the past for things like arguing with my husband in their home in their presence, and they talked to us about it at the time, years ago. I said yes, and y'all told us it made you uncomfy, and we resolved. Why am I not able to do the same? They responded because you're blowing this up. I asked how. They said. Because you talked to your mom. They only found that out on the phone call, even though they came in with yelling and told their children, my in-laws. This is long, so I'll stop here. There won't be a TLDR, because how? SMH. Nonetheless, ask all the questions, and help me make sense of something that really doesn't make sense. I will be and am being as honest as I possibly can, and I recognize that this is a hot mess. But unfortunately I can't make this stuff up. I'll respond to comments. Tell me your thoughts. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Okay, so you can't tell your mom, but he can tell his whole family to ridicule you. This is so unhealthy, and yes, he looks incredibly unstable. Shifting all the blame on you, and playing the victim after, I would definitely go NC, and expect my husband to defend me, or I would serve him with divorce papers. Reply. Exactly. OOP on why she is being singled out. My hypothesis about why I'm being targeted is because I'm the only one who will respond to the nonsense with a boundary. Whether it's prejudice/racist jokes, especially in public or in earshot of said person of race, belittling jokes to women and the disabled, children, etc. 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 I'll continue to say that's wrong, no matter who says it. I also am not materialistic, and I think that my priority for education over riches bothers them because I don't align. I'm working towards the highest degree while they've only received high school diplomas and their children bachelors. I don't talk like them, I'm not into television, but instead I read books. Pretty much I stick out like a sore thumb with them. I'm different. Stories number 18. Our daughter said that my partner, 28F, is her mother, and I, 27F, am not. My partner said she just told her the truth, and it doesn't matter, but why would she say something like this, and how do I deal with it? My partner and I have been together for 9 years. It isn't legally recognized to be married where we live, but we would be if we could. I know some people would assume we have commitment issues or something like that, but that's the way it is. We have 2 daughters. One is 4, and the other is 6 months old. Biologically, they are completely hers. Other than the donor. We do not know their identity, but our children can request it as adults. We had it done in a neighboring country, because they are hesitant about doing it for people in our situation here. I love children, but I didn't want to be pregnant, and it's a very long process. She did want to, so it worked out well. I am in the postgraduate stage at the moment of being a doctor. It's what I've always wanted, and it's important to me that we are in the position where our children can do whatever they want in the future as well. I also really enjoy it, it's interesting, and while it's a lot of work, it's worth it to me. I do try to help and spend as much time with the children as I can. It can be hard though because of the hours I have to work. Some of my colleagues are more understanding. I am lucky to work in quite a modern place, so I do get better hours most of the time, but it still isn't ideal. I try to at least help either every morning or evening. I bath them, I dress them, I read to them, I play with them, I take them places. I really do try to be as present as possible. I don't want to be the parent who's always working. I also try to help my partner obviously. I clean, I cook meals, I do those sorts of things as well. About a week ago, I was putting our older daughter to bed. She said, "Why is my partner?" I will use that because she calls us both different names, which is both personal and it would get confusing, with you, and not my father. I said that we have talked about this. And she said yes, and my partner had said to her I'm not her mother, and she is. And that she doesn't understand why my partner was weird and was with me and not her father. Obviously, children can get confused. So I talked to my partner and asked why our daughter said this, and why she thought this. We have discussed with her before when she has asked how it works, why she has two mothers, and it never involved who was the real mother. She knows my partner gave birth to her, she's seen photos of her pregnant and things like that, but she's little, she doesn't really understand what that means. My partner said she had just told her the truth when she had asked, and I asked why. She said that we can't lie and act like we're the same because we're not, and it's only going to confuse her. I said that she's not confused, that her father is irrelevant in this because he's not her father and all she did was center everything around her and act like I don't matter. She said I'm making it into something significant when it's not, and that she did far more than I have ever done, and that neither of our children would be here without her. And that's true. But it feels like she doesn't care about everything I have done, and the worst thing for me is that she would tell our child these sorts of things. It really upsets me that now, she might see as different, and that's all because of what she said to her. I don't know why she suddenly thinks so differently to me, when we never had this before. Maybe there's something I can't see, maybe something is wrong, I don't know, but I didn't think there was. I'm just confused. It's not like her. Stories number 19. My neighbor thinks my driveway is hers because she's lived here longer. I recently bought my first home in a quiet suburb. It's a super proud moment for me, being single in my early 30s and having saved for years. The house has a long driveway that leads up to a detached garage in the back, and I park halfway up so I can easily walk to the front door. Important detail, the driveway is 100% on my property and not shared at all. My neighbor Olivia is in her mid-40s and has lived in her house for over a decade. She was pleasant enough when I first moved in, bringing over cookies and saying things like, "Welcome to the neighborhood," until I actually started using my driveway. About a week after I moved in, I came home to find her car parked in my driveway. Not partially, but completely blocking my garage. I thought maybe it was a mistake, like someone visiting her got confused. I knocked on her door, and she answered with, "Oh, that's just me. I've always parked there. The old owners let me." I told her, as politely as I could, that it's my property and I'd prefer to keep it clear for my car. She replied, "Well, I've been here 10 years. It's just easier for me. The street gets icy, and my driveway is too narrow. You have room." I repeated myself, nicely but firmly, and said I needed it to be clear going forward. She rolled her eyes and slammed the door. I thought that was the end of it. The next day, her car was back. I left a note this time, just in case she didn't hear me the first time. Then I started parking behind her so she couldn't leave until she came to talk to me. Sure enough, she came over furious. She started yelling about how I was being disrespectful and selfish, saying that, "Good neighbors share." I told her if she parked there again, I'd have her towed. She said, and I quote, "That's not very neighborly. You'll regret making enemies here." So I did exactly what I said. The next time she parked there, I called a tow truck. She lost it and called the cops on me. When they showed up, they saw my property line and basically told her to stop harassing me. Stories number 20. Aita for telling my sister's kid to eat or not eat because I didn't care. My sister Alexis has a stepkid named Alexander. Real names because I don't care. He is a brat, my sister spoils him. If she makes him food and he doesn't want to eat it, she will make him something else. He is 8. This is not okay in my opinion. I usually go over to her place to visit, but recently Alexis has been trying to get out more. She is a stay-at-home mom and I think she has cabin fever. Her husband works out of town and she is alone with the kid a lot. My place is not that child-friendly, but I do have Lego and a Swith with a few child-appropriate games. But I don't keep Dino nuggets or goldfish crackers in my house on a regular basis. They were over the other day and my sister had to leave him with me due to an emergency. Not a fan of entertaining weird kids, but whatever. I crushed Alexander at Mario Kart. He actually did pretty well and beat me a couple of times. There wasn't any money on it, so I wasn't playing to win. So I ordered food for us because I'm lazy and I hate cooking. Pizza from a local place I like. Nothing spicy or weird. Just really good pizza. Alex said he only likes cheese or pepperoni pizza. I said I knew that, and that's why there was a quattro formaggio pizza in front of him. Sorry if my spelling sucks. That means 4 cheese pizza in Italian. He got pissed and said he wouldn't eat it because it didn't look right. I don't think this kid is on the spectrum, and I've seen him eat that crap pizza at Chuck E. Cheese, so I'm not real sympathetic to whatever was going on. He said he wanted chicken fingers and fries. I asked him if he had any money. He said yes, but it was at his house. I said that sucked, but I wasn't going to get him anything else. My fridge has condiments and beer. Freezer has venison and waffles. I offered him waffles. He said no. I was over it, so I said, eat, don't eat, I don't care. Then I ate my pizza and some of his. Which also pissed him off. He said it was his. And then he ate it and seemed to enjoy it. When my sister came back, the little shit narked on me though for what I said. My sister thinks I'm an asshole for not coddling him. I think I provided free emergency child care and food for a kid I don't even like. Stories number 21. 30M and 31F had a stillbirth. Are these text responses from my sister-in-law insane or what? Recently my wife and I had one of the hardest things happen. She had a stillbirth. She got a bad bacterial infection and our son died before he was born. I almost lost my wife in the process too, but by the grace of God she was saved. Her sister reached out to me the following day asking to speak to my wife because she couldn't get a hold of her. She was too weak to speak to anyone and definitely wasn't checking her phone. I agreed to help them get in touch once I was back in the room with her. She then texted me saying she is trying to get some fundraiser together for us, which we do not need as we are financially stable, to help cover the funeral costs. I told her we are good and I got it. Once I was back at the ICU with my wife, who was starting to be more aware, other family members there told me there was a Facebook post made about the fundraiser her sister was doing. Apparently my wife agreed to it. My wife is a stay-at-home mom and I am the sole provider. I then asked her if she thought that was the right move, as we don't really need the financial help and value privacy. We don't even post photos of our firstborn anywhere. Also that I was not comfortable and this publicity may interfere with our grieving process and make it harder. She agreed with me and said that she couldn't think clearly earlier and it would be best to have her remove the post and the fundraiser. The Facebook post not only announces her having been pregnant to everyone, which only the immediate family members were made aware of before, but also has a lot of completely made up details such as medical bills, we have great insurance, past due bills, we have none, extreme financial hardship, and even my wife having a job, which she does not. How would you rate this conversation? Are her responses normal? Are mine? Also, I have a pretty good feeling that this sister of hers together with her mother had been having significant negative influence on our marriage. Her mother, who is prescribed antidepressants and mood regulators which she does not take, comes over every single day to help with child care while I am at work, and ever since our marriage had been in rough waters. I feel like I am only needed as a provider and have no say in anything. From how we raise our son to how we spend our free time. Hiring a nanny, for which I pushed so many times, bringing up concerns of her mom being in our lives too much and affecting our relationship, is out of the question because she does not trust anyone around our son. Even when I am with him she needs to micromanage everything. Stories number 22. I got a wake-up call after she said stop pretending to be rich. I'm 36M and I work a decent job. I'm not rich, but I am stable. I've always made effort to give my wife 33F a good life, ranging from weekend trips, nice dinners, and nice thoughtful surprises here and there. She liked to post everything online and show everyone that we were some kind of power couple. But then, she started getting more demanding. Expensive shoes, luxury bags, last-minute trips. Basically things we that couldn't really afford without dipping into savings. I told her that, and she rolled her eyes. One day, while out at dinner which I was paying for, she got irritated over my wine selection when in fact she earlier that she couldn't make up her mind on what she wanted, so I should order for the both of us instead. She went on to say loudly that there's no point pretending we live a fancy life when I clearly can't afford it, and I stopped trying to act rich, it's embarrassing. I was way beyond humiliated. But I smiled and nodded. You're right, I said. No more pretending. The next day, I got into action by canceling. I canceled every non-essential subscription. No more salon visits on my card. I returned an unopened designer bag package which I sold something important to me just to get it for her. I started cooking at home more, completely stopped the regular fine dining. When we went to a compulsory family dinner, my cousin asked why she wasn't posting her usual soft life content. I said exactly what she told me: we're not rich. We're done pretending. She got furious. Said I was being petty. I reminded her that I was just doing what she asked. She didn't like that version of reality. I gave it a few more months, then filed for divorce. Turns out that the more I thought about it, what she loved most wasn't me, but instead it was the image of being her trophy. Well, now she has no image to maintain. And I have peace. Stories number 23. Aita for refusing to give my brother and his pregnant wife my spare bedroom. So I, 29F, own a small 2-bedroom house. I live alone, and the second bedroom is my office. I work remotely full-time and also run a small side business from home. That room is crucial for both. My younger brother, 26M, and his wife, 24F, are expecting a baby in October. They've been struggling financially and asked if they could move in with me just for a few months after the baby is born to save for a place of their own. They said they'd take the spare room and I could work from the kitchen or living room. I told them no. I said I love them and want to help, but I can't sacrifice my work and privacy. This isn't just a guest room, it's my workspace and livelihood. I offered to help them look for a subsidized place or even contribute to the first month's rent somewhere else, but I wasn't going to have a newborn and 2 extra adults in my house indefinitely. They were upset. My brother said I was being selfish and that family is supposed to help when it matters most. Now my parents are involved, and they think I should do the right thing since I have the space and don't have kids or a husband to worry about. Now I'm getting guilt-tripped by half my family, but the truth is I value my peace and independence. I've worked hard to build this life, and it's not fair to throw it into chaos. Aita for saying no. Stories number 24. Aita for telling my BL he needs to book a hotel when he and my sister were staying at my house. My sister and her husband live across the country and decided they wanted to come visit. I live in a 2-bedroom 1-bathroom and I set up a bed in my home office because they wanted to stay at my house. They had been here for 4 days. The bathroom has been a big problem. He spends hours in there. After the first day, I talked to my sister about it. She says he has a condition where he needs the bathroom a lot. So I let it rest. On day 3, it was even worse. There was a time where I had to excuse myself to go to the store so I could use the bathroom twice because he wouldn't leave. The last day I woke up at 4 a.m. and had to use the bathroom very badly. I knocked on the door and he said he'd be out in a minute. I told him I really had to go. It took him an hour to get out. The nearby store wasn't open at that time and I had to do something I am not happy I had to do because I couldn't wait. The next morning I told him he needs to get a hotel. I can't be blocked from using the bathroom in my own home because he takes it hostage. I get he has a condition, but so do I. And I make sure I have my own bathroom when I travel so I don't get in the way of other people needing the bathroom. My sister and her BL were very upset and called me ableist. I told them what I had to do last night because he was in the bathroom for so long and they said I could have held it. I told them they need to leave and find a hotel or stay with other family, he just can't stay here anymore. Aita for telling my sister and BL they need to get a hotel when the plan was for them to stay with me for a week. Stories number 25. She tried to steal my man, so I had her ruin her hair. There is this woman I know. She is quite frankly awful to be around, but entertaining enough to watch in small doses. She is a massive attention seeker. Drama follows her everywhere, yet she never quite realizes she is the drama. She is a creative and a natural empath in her eyes. She will go into a group of people having a normal old time, and suddenly anyone has enemies, relationship issues, and lives falling apart. She comes across as a bit lonely and that she needs attention from men for her own validation. She turned her sights on my man. He told me everything that was going on as it happened. I later heard by someone else that she was trash-talking me. I know I am making a whole post about her, but I genuinely do keep her at arm's distance. She doesn't talk to me anywhere near enough to be forming opinions about me like this. I was not happy. I also had an idea. Someone else around us recently had highlights in their hair. She has black hair. I knew her hair couldn't handle heavy bleaching, and that it would grow out weirdly without the proper maintenance on her hair. So I made such a big fuss about how hot the woman with highlights looked. I talked about how blondes just have the it factor, that it's totally a summer 25 look. I talked about how I wanted to go blonde. I made some of the guys agree that blondes were hot in front of her. She is impulsive, and attention-seeking enough that I knew she would go blonde if I hyped it up enough. And she did. She doesn't have enough money for a proper hairdresser to do it, so she did it at home. She did multiple rounds in the same day with box bleach. Her hair is now orange and fried. She has turned it around and keeps asking the guys if she is still pretty, and everyone is being really nice towards her over it. But it looks terrible. I see a bob in her future. Stories number 26. Aita for humiliating my wife's cousin after she made fun of my wife's infertility. My wife and I have trying for a child since past 2 years, and no matter how often we tried, my wife couldn't get pregnant, which depressed her, and she was against medical checkups, so past 2 years have been hell for us. My wife got frustrated and she visited doctor, and we found out that my wife can't get pregnant naturally, which ruined her mental health even more. She's angry and frustrated and sometimes takes it out on me. She would hug me and hit my arms and cry and say that she's not a woman because she can't give me children. I did everything possible to comfort her, and I told her that we don't need kids as long as we have each other, and my wife was improving, but her cousin made fun of my wife's infertility in front of her family on her aunt's birthday party. My wife started crying and her sisters and mom comforted her, and to get back at her cousin I said she can get pregnant because she has been with a lot of men and even her future husband wouldn't know if the child is his. She screamed that I do not have the right to judge her past, and I replied with she doesn't have the right to judge my wife and make fun of her, but as characterless she is and cheap, it's no wonder for me to doubt her. I left with my wife, and though I feel a bit satisfied for humiliating her, but my wife isn't feeling great by herself and I don't know what I need to do to make her feel good. Also, Englishman, forgive my poor English. Stories number 27. 30M found my partner, 30F, on Hinge. As the title says, we were walking and she was showing me something on her phone, and in the most recent apps I saw Hinge. I asked her about it and she said she's been using it to scroll through, like social media. She showed me the most recent messages and there was nothing there. She said she hasn't spoken to anyone on the app and hasn't met with anyone. She also said she hadn't changed her pictures. I left because I had to think about things. A few days later, we met and I asked to go through her Hinge and she said she deleted the app, and I asked her to re-download it. She did. She was doing something on the app in front of me, so I asked for phone. She had uploaded new pictures, because she looks good in them, and there was nothing else on there. I asked what she was doing whilst I was waiting. She said she was looking at her profile, and I asked her again. She then said she deleted messages. I asked why and she said they were personal and before we got together. She had also previously unmatched me but not them. From all this, she's annoyed at me for being cold about the way I went about things and the fact I breached her trust by going through her Hinge. I was ready to end things, but we had a holiday booked a few days later, so we went. Throughout the holiday she showed me that she really cared about me, and it's really messed my head up. I know it's over and I need to move on, but I just feel like I need to know if she's cheated on me or not, but she gets defensive when I bring it up. I know I'm being a complete idiot, but please give me your honest thoughts about the situation. Update. So I went to go and see her to have the talk. We started with some small talk and then she broke up with me. This honestly took me by surprise. She said she had thought about why she had been on Hinge and said that she was just unsure about me, and even after a year of being exclusive she's still unsure and is unsure if she will ever be sure. She also mentioned how upset she was that I broke her trust by going through her Hinge and that I never really trusted her. But ultimately she's saying she broke it off because it's not fair for me. She still remains adamant that she didn't cheat and that she's never lied to me, even though she deleted messages and changed her profile pics despite me asking previously. She then started to talk about all the nice times we've had together and how I'm such a good guy. She cried a lot and then stayed at the door as I drove off. My question is, what the hell just happened? Once again I feel like I'm in wrong. I think she may have a little cognitive dissonance with the Hinge thing and can't admit to herself what she's done. I also question if she thinks that she's done anything wrong. The whole trust thing is utter nonsense. Looking back, I gave her the benefit of the doubt in situations which I probably shouldn't have, but I trusted her. I know you guys were right and this needed to be over, but it sucks that she broke up with me. Obviously I'm very upset and miss her, but I think I miss the idea of her more than the real person. I understand it may take time, but I'll get over this and be even stronger at the other side, but it just really sucks at the min, so any advice to help me get over this would be appreciated. I've got a lot to process, think about, but if you guys want another post about relationship, just let me know. I'm finding it pretty cathartic writing it down. FYI, the holiday mentioned in my previous post was for a marathon, hence why I felt like I had to go, even though it really confused things for me. Stories number 28. No, I shouldn't have said it, but I did anyway. Names have been changed for privacy. Okay, so for context, I, 28F, work in IT for a mid-sized law firm. It's mostly uneventful, but there's this one guy in legal, let's call him Ryan, who's kind of an office favorite. Everyone likes him. He's charming, funny, brings donuts in on Fridays, all that. I always found him a little too performative, but I kept that to myself. Over time, Ryan and I got friendly, not friends, but friendly. He'd come by my desk and joke around, ask about my weekend, subtly flirt, but in a, this is harmless, right, kind of way. At first, I thought it was just office banter. Then one day, he made a comment about how girls like me probably have a wild side. I laughed it off. Fast forward 2 weeks, I was out for drinks with some coworkers, and Ryan was there. He got drunk. Sloppy, handsy drunk. I excused myself. Monday morning, he comes by my desk like nothing happened, smiling, saying I ghosted him at the bar. I shrugged it off. But that was the tipping point. Something about how casual he was about it made my blood boil. So when another coworker, new girl, maybe 22, came to ask me if Ryan was cool, said he'd been messaging her outside of work after helping her set up her printer, I didn't hold back. I told her point blank, be careful. He likes attention. He pushes lines and then pretends he didn't. I told her he was exactly the type to play dumb if anything serious ever happened. She looked shocked, not at what I said, but that I said it. Word got around. I don't know who told who I didn't even care, but by Friday, Ryan wasn't smiling at me anymore. People started acting different. Like I'd broken some unwritten code. But here's the thing, I don't regret it. Maybe I torched my reputation with a few people, but I've been that girl who wished someone had said something. I know I might be labeled dramatic or jealous or whatever other nonsense people use to deflect, but if calling him out helps someone else dodge something uncomfortable, I'll take it. Still, sometimes I wonder if I went too far, if maybe I should have just let it slide. But then I remember his hands on my waist when I said, no thanks, and him laughing like it was a game. So, no, I said what I said. Stories number 29. Aita for being against my wife to go on a trip with her friend because I wasn't invited but other men were. My wife's friend came over a couple of days ago and she told us that she's planning a trip out of country with her friends and she invited my wife. My wife asked me if she can go and I obviously agreed. But when we asked her who else is coming she said it's her 3 female friends and 4 male friends. When she said that my wife gave me an awkward look. I said then what if I also join them on this trip? She said no, it's only friends trip. My wife said she's uncomfortable going on a trip without me when so many men are involved and I'm not invited. My wife and I have been together since past 8 years and we share everything, even the most insignificant things like what we had for lunch, and I obviously felt uncomfortable, but my feelings aside my wife didn't feel comfortable. Her friend tried to convince my wife to join them but my wife kept refusing, and when I felt as if she was trying to force my wife I said that my wife has already said no and she shouldn't force her. She said that I should stay out of this topic because it's between besties. I said I'm talking about my wife and our marriage comes before any besties, and even if my wife wanted to go I wouldn't let her go on such a ridiculous trip. She called me a controlling man and I'm trying to isolate my wife, and I said I'm just being protective of my wife and my wife already refused, so why is she arguing with me? After we argued for a while she left on her own. Aita. Stories number 30. She blocked the self-checkout line with a full cart. This happened just this Monday at local grocery store. I stopped in after work to grab a few things and literally had 5 items. I headed to the self-checkout area, and there was a line forming, but it was moving pretty fast until this one woman rolled up with a full cart, like 80 plus items, and just cut to the front like she owned the place. Everyone looked at each other, unsure of what to say. Someone behind me muttered, seriously, but no one wanted to confront her directly. She ignored all of us and started scanning slowly, painfully slowly, like one item at a time, and then digging into her purse between every 2 items. Here's the thing, store policy clearly states that if you have more than 20 items, you're supposed to go to a regular register. It's posted right above the machines. So when an employee passed by, I said, hey, I think the self-checkout is stuck. Someone brought way too many items and it's backing everyone up. The employee looked over at her cart, instantly clocked the situation, and walked right up to her. He was polite but firm. He said, ma'am, this register is for small orders only. I'm going to have to ask you to move to a regular lane. She tried to argue, saying, I've already scanned half my stuff, but he shut that down quickly and said he'd help her move it. She had to pack it all back into her cart and roll it over to an actual checkout line, which had about 5 people deep. I scanned my 5 items, paid, and walked out while she was still repacking her stuff. Stories number 31. Aita for keeping my entire inheritance when my siblings did nothing for our parents. I, 45F, recently lost both of my parents within a year. For the past 10 years, I was their primary caregiver. I managed their finances, drove them to doctor's appointments, cooked, cleaned, and was there for them emotionally through everything. My 2 siblings, David, 48M, and Lisa, 42F, lived out of state and hardly ever visited. They had stable jobs and could have helped, but mostly they just called sometimes and said they were too busy to do anything else. When the will was read, it said that I would inherit the entire estate. It's not a huge amount, but my parents wanted me to have it to help secure my future since I was the one who took care of them day in and day out. David and Lisa are furious, saying it's unfair and that I should split it 3 ways. They keep saying, family should stick together, and accuse me of being greedy. I've told them I love our parents, but I carried the burden of their care alone for years, and this inheritance was meant to acknowledge that. Now they're threatening to sue. Stories number 32. Entitled Karen cursed me out for planting in my own garden. Bought a house last year, renovated and moved in about a month ago. Up until now we've had or thought we had a good relationship with the neighbor on the side of our house whose driveway is next to our house. We even bought them a gift basket when we closed on the house. Last week we planted small compacta hollies to create a tiny hedge in our front raised 1-foot-high garden that is well within our own property line, not even the edge of the property line. Karen and her husband decides to come out today to curse us out and name calling us, bitch, witch, shitty neighbor, telling us to fuck ourselves, etc., for planting the hollies in our raised garden as it interferes with them opening their car door into our garden, walking well inside our garden to get in and out of their car. They even claim we are making their lives miserable and creating a dangerous tripping hazard when they climb into our garden to get in and out. I am beyond myself at how people like this exists, the entitlement and unreasonableness. Originally we wanted to add more height to the garden and cap the top layer of the brick-raised garden with concrete caps when we first purchased the house, but Karen told us not to because they need to open their car door. We decided to be nice neighbors to keep peace, so we didn't. Now few months later we moved in, planted small compacta holly bushes around the garden border, but inside the brick edges of the raised garden bed. Karen said we are the worst neighbors ever and hope all our plants die. Even went as far as threatening us, stating that we will be miserable living here. Like seriously, WTF? Mind you, Karen is 69 years old and acts out like a damn unhinged child maniac. Face with rolling eyes. Whole situation is mind-boggling. She demands we remove all the bushes along the side of our garden because they need to climb and step into our garden to open their car doors to get in and out. Her screaming got so bad that even our nice neighbor from across the street came to defend us and try to de-escalate the situation, calming her down. Of course she yelled at him to leave and mind his own business because she's been living on the block for 30 years. Edit. This is all in the front of the house. Max fencing height is 4 foot 4 front yards. However, we aren't really thinking of fencing because Noon on the block has one in the front. It would look odd. In addition, she went ahead and tells my husband that our piece of shit bush in the backyard, which wasn't even planted by us, was there when we bought the house, is sticking into her yard and we need to rid it. On top of that, she said she's been a victim, having to put up with our renovation shit and our backyard looks like shit, so she can't even invite people over. To be fair, our backyard is currently overgrown with grass and weed because we just moved in and spent a ton on renovating the inside. The backyard isn't our priority right now. However, it is fenced off from her property and kept clean without garbage or anything. I don't see how my shit backyard that is fenced off affects her inviting people over. The crap she says is mind-boggling. Stories number 33. Course I'll move offices again. Well, I'm back to give you all an update. Brief summary: my boss made me move offices 3 times in a week. The final move resulted in me not having access to a phone line. Here's a link. The original post is below. Now to the fallout. After I moved my office for the final time, I began rage applying to jobs. I happened to find one that is almost exactly what I was doing with a competitor, and I applied and within 24 hours had an interview, and a week and a half later I secured an offer letter with a $15,000 raise walking in the door. Who me? I gave my company notice and the CEO, the jackass that pulled the office power trip, decided to terminate my employment immediately, so now there is no one in the company that has any idea how to do what I did, and no one to train anyone they bring in. I talked to my new employer and moved my start date up a week. I'm out of a toxic environment and the company I worked for shot themselves in the foot. Karma is a thing, man. Update 1. I thought about it and emailed the appropriate muckety muck so they couldn't jam me up for not doing my job, and not telling them what was up. I have a hoopsie email chain now. The earliest the issue will be fixed is Wednesday, and my counterpart in a different office starts vacation tomorrow, so I'm not sure who will get stuck with the phones. I thought I would share my in-progress malicious compliance at work. A little backstory: my office is an old residential building converted to a flex space, so the interior layout is quirky at best. When I started, my office was in the space that used to be a closet. To say I had very little workspace is an understatement. Fast forward to last week. Remodeling has been done and staff moved around, and I have been told I will have a legit office now. Awesome, right? Wrong. The decision comes down today: no office for me, after I had already moved into said office. I have to swap with a coworker that has an open design workspaces. Said coworker does not want an office. We are told it doesn't matter what we want, we have to change. Now cue the malicious compliance. I moved desks, but I don't have an office phone. Well, I do, but it goes to nothing. There is no phone line, jack, etc. anywhere near the part of the building I am now located. Did I mention that a not insignificant part of my job is answering the phone, and if I don't the phone starts ringing to all the company extensions. So now we are playing a game called, How Long Before the People That Are Smarter Than Me Figure Out They Made a Big Mistake. Stories number 34. An entitled Karen was caught harvesting my Meyer lemons. This posh lady walking with her pampered pet and Gucci bag was harvesting my Meyer lemons. I drive up and she is about 40 feet in my yard. She says she is visiting her sister and loves these lemons. She has a plastic grocery bag full of my lemons. I tell her off and take the bag. She demands the bag back, so I take out the lemons and give her the empty bag. She and her husband, Rolex, come back an hour later when I am watering the lawn. He is like, just give us the lemons. At no point do they offer to buy them. My wife comes out with my 3 kids and says lemon harvesting time and then ice cream. They watch my kids and wife start picking the lemons, while I explain to the husband and wife that they are on my property. Softly, that this is a concealed carry state, Texas. Loudly, I ask my wife to call the police, and this is small town. They stammer when almost immediately, Sam, police, pulls up, when it turns out my nosy neighbor had called him. She then says she got some last year and the previous owner did not complain. We must have been on vacation since I planted the lemon tree. Sam brings out the pen and pad and proceeds to ask if this is a statement. She starts to talk when the husband says, this is a misunderstanding and we are not making any statements. He apologized and gently but firmly gets her into a car. Sam says, well, that would have been a lot of paperwork, but she could have used a free ride downtown. I would give a lot of lemons to have been a fly on the wall in that Land Rover. We had so many lemons that year I would have sold some. Stories number 35. Aita for banning my friend and her kid from sleeping in my bed. I didn't sleep last night. I'm currently stuck on the couch because my bed is completely unusable. On top of that, my flatmate's alarm kept going off non-stop, so I'm beyond exhausted. Why am I on the couch? I let a friend and her daughter sleep in my bed the night before. The next morning, she casually told me she spilled her water bottle through my entire bed. I said, oh. Shit, and she just went yeah and then changed the subject, lol. I went to check, and sure enough, the entire bed was soaking wet. Sheets, duvet, pillows, blankets, everything. It's the middle of winter and now I'm freezing, using just a duvet cover as a blanket. She didn't strip the bed. Didn't clean anything. Didn't offer to help. Just told me and walked off like it wasn't a big deal. A reason I'm so annoyed is because this isn't the first time. A while ago, her daughter had a full-on toilet accident in my bed, and again, no apology or help. Just a heads up that it happened. I had to flip the mattress and clean everything myself. After this most recent incident, I've decided that no one is allowed to sleep in my bed anymore. I'm done. I'm not here to clean up after people who can't respect basic hygiene or take responsibility. But now I'm getting attitude and passive-aggressive comments from other friends, stuff like, she's a mom, she's tired, or, she deals with this all the time. As if, because I'm not a mom, I'm just supposed to suck it up because it was only a couple of times. Aita for setting this boundary. Stories number 36. Neighbor drives through my yard and dumps their garbage on my property. I've been dealing with some bad neighbors for 3 years now. I thought I'd share my story both for entertainment value but also ask, what would you do differently in my situation? The context behind the neighbors: an old man lives there who had a wife that passed away before I moved in. Now some younger people from the projects, who aren't related to him, take advantage of him and live with him rent-free. How they met, I don't know. Despite the less than reputable characters that live with him, the old man is the biggest thorn in my side. I wish I could post pictures in this subreddit, but I'll just have to describe it. My house is situated further back from the road than theirs. I can see into their backyard from my front door. The old man likes to drive into his yard and pull up to his front door to unload groceries so he doesn't have to walk as far to take them in the house. I understand that part. The problem is, he pulls down my driveway, then across my yard to get to his front door. It kills my grass and leaves ruts in the yard. The next time I saw him outside, I asked him to stop driving in my yard and he said he would, but he kept doing it. A second time I asked him to stop, and again it didn't stop. After the third I was angry, so I went to his house and pounded on the door but nobody answered. I went home, wrote an angry note, and package taped it to his door threatening to call the police if it happened again. Surprise, it happened again. So after the fourth time it happened I went to the police, and the police told him to stop and he did. To this day he hasn't driven in my yard, thank goodness. But the story doesn't end here. After my trouble with them I put Ring cameras up on my property, and last month my cameras caught something baffling. He dumped a big box TV on my property. I have a huge yard and a lot of land, I even own some woods. He has a fenced-in yard and also owns some woods. He rode his lawn mower into my front yard, down my side yard and into my backyard all the way to my woods, and dumped a box TV back there. It wasn't even 3 feet into the woods. You know, rather than leave it by the curb for the garbage company to recycle for free, he had to get rid of it on my property. The audacity. So naturally I took a picture of the TV and pulled the recordings from my cameras and took it to the police. The police are charging him with littering and forcing him to remove the TV and dispose of it properly, as well as trespassing him from my property. He'll be hit with criminal mischief if he sets even a foot on my property again. There was one morning last year where I woke up to go to work in the morning, and there were like 10 local police cars and state cops all outside his house. Here the people from the projects that were living with him were dealing drugs out of his house and they were doing a bust on them. Everyone but the old man was arrested, and they just got let out of jail this month and are back in the house. I really just need to move. It's a shame because I live in such a nice neighborhood. It's the reason I even picked the house, the location. I've talked to my other neighbors about the bad neighbors and they said everything was fine before the old man's wife died. But now he almost seems like he has dementia and is being taken advantage of by some bad people. And now I have drug dealers and trespassers right next door. About a week ago I posted talking about my issues with my neighbor driving through my yard in the past and how I had the police tell them to stop, and how more recently my neighbor dumped a large box TV on my property, caught on my cameras and reported to the police. Yesterday, my camera caught my neighbor leaving a handwritten note on my door that I read when I got home from work, and I also heard from the police regarding the TV. I'll start with the conversation I had with the police and leeway into the note he left on my door. The police had been trying to reach my neighbor by phone for the last week, and had made multiple visits to their house to tell him to remove the TV, but he wasn't answering his phone or the door. So the officers on duty have been making routine visits on our street to see if they could catch him outside, and they finally did. They told him he had to remove the TV and he was livid, naturally. He tried to claim that the property wasn't mine and was his. It's mine, not sure why he thinks otherwise considering a fence separates our properties, and that he could do what he wants. The officers said whether it was mine or his was irrelevant, as littering is littering and you can't dispose of electric waste by dropping it in the woods and pretending it isn't there. So they told him he had to dispose of it properly, and they told me if the TV isn't gone in 3 to 4 days to call them again and they're going to give him a citation for it. So that was yesterday that this conversation happened between them. Around lunchtime was when my Ring camera caught him leaving the note. The note said along the lines of, I am giving you until June 1st to trim branches of a tree on your property that are dropping leaves and twigs into my property, or I'm filing a civil suit against you. I am tired of picking up the sticks and leaves dropped on my yard by your tree. So naturally the first thing I did was look up my state and local laws, and also went to the police station to notify the officers that this happened so they were aware of it and could make a report. The officers at the station told me not to worry about it, they know what he's like and he wouldn't actually go through with it. He's just mad that I got him in trouble and is taking it out on me with any excuse he can come up with, and the officers told me it's not my responsibility to take care of it. Our state and local laws state that it's not the responsibility of the owner to trim branches that protrude over property line, but that property owner that it is protruding on is allowed to cut back the branches back off of their property line. Whether you agree with that or not is up to you, but that's the law that I both read and that the police department informed me of. But here's the thing, the tree is healthy and it's not dropping large branches or anything of the sort, nor does it go over anything that would cause damage to his property. Even if it did, insurance takes care of that, it's not my responsibility. He's obviously butthurt about me getting him in trouble these last few months and is reaching at anything he possibly can to cause trouble for me like I have for him. Unfortunately I'm an upstanding citizen and he has no grounds to get me in trouble with anything. Also our police department and local government despises him and his residents so much that even if this somehow does go to court, his word is nothing compared to mine. So, I'm calling his bluff and ignoring him. I know him well enough at this point too, I'm not giving him the attention he wants. If he would have been kind about the situation and had a respectful conversation with me about the tree I would have been a lot more considerate. But he didn't even talk to me about it. Now that he thinks he can threaten me, he can forget it. The amount he's inconvenienced me severely outweighs leaves falling from my tree into his yard. Maybe when he stops driving across my yard and dumping garbage on my property and trespassing, I'll think about whether or not to help him. I can't believe there's people on this planet so selfish. See my last post for the details on how these people are the scum of our community. Crack-dealing sociopaths in the one garbage house of our nice neighborhood. I'm really disappointed things have ended up this way because the whole reason I even got the house was because of the neighborhood, but I had to pick the one place next door to the crack dealers and trespassers. Again, FML. I'm going to start looking for a new place to live. I'm so thankful the police has been so helpful and understanding of the situation, but it seems no matter how many times I send them and no matter how willing they are to cause trouble for me, this needless drama won't end until they're out of that house or I just leave. I keep to myself. I'm a single, quiet guy who minds his own business in his own house. I just want to be left alone. It's time to start looking elsewhere, I think. Anyways, I hope my strife has been entertaining. I'll probably have another update after the first week of June regarding all of this. Would you have done anything differently? Let me know if you have any advice. Thanks. In my last posts I told the story of my recent strife with my neighbor, an old man who keeps trespassing on my property and drove through my yard on multiple occasions, only stopping after the police made him do so. He then trespassed again by dumping a large box TV in my woods in my backyard. After telling the police about the TV and after they confronted him and told him to remove it, he left a note on my door threatening legal action for a tree that's dropping leaves and twigs in his yard, and if I didn't take care of it by June 1st, he'd be suing me. For the finer details where I went more in depth about it, see my last post from about a week and a half ago from the link above. As for the update, it's now June 3rd and naturally I've done nothing about the tree. Countless conversations with other people, including the police, as well as my own research tell me I'm not responsible. I haven't heard from the neighbor, haven't heard from anybody on his behalf, haven't gotten any more notes on my door or in my mailbox or anything of the sort. It was just as we suspected, all bark no bite. He was mad about me getting him in trouble and tried to intimidate me and it didn't work. He's since removed the TV. Where he put it I'm not sure, I never saw it on the curb for the garbage or anything, for all I know he could have just threw it in his own woods, but I don't care enough to attempt to find out. It's off my property and none of my business anymore as a result. I also double-checked with the police to be sure that he was trespassed for good, and they assured me he was and him removing the TV from my property was the last time he or anybody in that house was permitted from stepping foot on it, and he understood this. As many commenters suggested, I went down to our local human services building in our township and spoke to somebody in the Office of Aging. It's our version of Adult Protective Services. I spent an hour at their office and made a full report on the whole situation to them, the old man and his seemingly declined mental state and physical state, the types of people living with him. I gave them all the juicy details, from the footage of him struggling to climb 2 stairs onto my porch to leave the note showcasing his physical state, to another time where he chased a squirrel on his lawn mower into my yard showcasing his mental state. I even showed them the footage I had from the raid on his house where the people that were living with them were, temporarily, arrested for dealing crack out of his house. I gave them the names of the people living with him, given to me by my buddy in the police department who has been dealing with them for me. I left no detail out, no stone unturned. The woman I spoke with submitted the report to their investigation unit, but she said I wouldn't get an update regarding the situation. I'm only going to hear from anybody if they ask for more information from me. Only time will tell if this will do any good not only for myself, but for the old man too. To summarize, the TV is off my property, they're officially trespassed, their legal action threats were bluffs, and they haven't driven on my yard since. I feel better about everything and I'm hoping that this is the last I have to deal with for the foreseeable future, but only time will tell. Of course, should anything else happen I'll be quick to tell it here, but for now this will be the last time I post regarding this situation. I also wanted to thank everybody for the suggestions made on my previous posts. I wouldn't have thought to make a report with the Office of Aging if it wasn't for commenters. Here's hoping he gets the help he needs and I get the peace and quiet I've been longing for. Neighbor paid me a visit to threaten legal action against me again. Minor update. WWID. Vent rant. My neighbor previously left a note on my door telling me I needed to either cut down a tree on my property, or trim the branches back so it stops dropping leaves on his yard. He left the note in the middle of May, and said he was giving me until June 1st to do something about it or he would be filing a civil suit. Naturally I didn't do anything about it. June 3rd I made a post giving an update on the situation, and how he didn't do anything and calling his bluff was the right thing to do. Well, last night at about 5 p.m., he paid me a visit. I didn't answer the door, but I have a Ring camera and he knows it records, so he left me a message. He said along the lines of, well, since you don't want to come to the door, you need to take care of the tree, I'm tired of the stuff landing in my yard. I know you can see me, I know you can hear me. I'm giving you 2 weeks, then I'm going to the magistrate. Then he left. He's been trespassed from my property, so he violated the trespass. I sent the footage from my Ring camera to the officer that's been dealing with him on my behalf, the one that trespassed him. I'm awaiting a response for now. I'm not doing anything about the tree. I've stated in my previous post that our state and local laws refer to what he's complaining about as shedding, and the landowner that the tree resides on can't be held responsible for leaves or twigs that fall from it onto another person's property. It's standard tree law. Even if it was larger branches that were damaging his house or land, which it's not, insurance handles that, and it's still not my responsibility. This conclusion is not only from my own research, but also what our police department and a lawyer I spoke to told me. So he has no grounds. If he tries to take it to court, they'd laugh at him. That's the thing though, he won't take it to court. He's already proven to me he won't do shit. He gave me a week and a half before to take care of it and I didn't. It's been almost 2 weeks since the deadline he gave me, and all he did was extend his deadline after 2 weeks of me not complying. I'm really not worried at all, but I thought I'd share the experience for the entertainment and for the update for those interested in the situation from my past dealings with him. I really don't want there to be a reason to post any more updates, but I will continue to post them if the opportunity arises. Just one day after my last post, I had a confrontation with my neighbor outside. Before anybody gets too excited, nothing physical happened. Just a short exchange of words. I had to wait so long to make an update because I've been waiting to hear back from the police, and after 8 days of waiting and emails, I finally got a response from the police and enough information to warrant an update. If you've seen my last posts, you can skip the next paragraph. To summarize what was mentioned in my last posts, I previously got my neighbor in trouble for 2 things he had been doing to my inconvenience. First, he was driving on my lawn, killing my grass and leaving ruts in the ground. After asking him 3 times to stop, I sent the police over to tell him to stop, and thankfully since then he hasn't done it again. Second, he dumped a big box TV in my backyard. After a month and a half of deliberation with the police, they finally made him remove the TV and I asked them to formally trespass him while they were at it too, so that he couldn't come onto my property anymore. The very same day he was trespassed, he came to my house and left a note at my door. The note said that he was giving me a deadline to cut down or cut back a tree on my property that was dropping leaves on his yard, or he would file a civil suit against me. After his deadline came and went and I naturally didn't do anything about the tree, 10 days later he came to my door and left a message to my Ring camera stating he was giving me another 2 weeks to deal with the tree or he was going to the magistrate. He's grasping at whatever excuse he can muster to get me in trouble because I've gotten him in trouble, but he holds no grounds and I'm an upstanding citizen with nothing for him to get me in trouble with. That's everything up to now. Here's what's happened since my last post. I was out cutting my grass last Thursday, and after I was nearly finished and started weed whacking my backyard, he rode his lawn mower onto my property once again. Keep in mind, he has a fence, so it's not like he stayed in his yard and yelled to me. He deliberately went out of his fenced yard, into my front yard and down my side yard into my backyard. My plan if he ever did confront me was to simply ignore him, because of the type of person he is. I knew he just wants the drama and attention. It didn't entirely go that way. He rode over to me and said, "Hey, my name," and I ignored him at first. Then he gave me the "come here" finger gesture, and that kind of pissed me off. So here's what I said. "No, I'm not talking to you. You've been trespassed, and you need to go home," is all I said. Keep in mind, his lawn mower was running the whole time and I had noise-canceling headphones in, but I know I said it loud enough for him to hear me. But I didn't hear what he said back. I'm sure he just repeated what he's been saying to me about the tree because he pointed at it. I didn't want to hear what he had to say anyways. He quickly retreated back off of my property saying he was going to the magistrate. So after I finished my weed whacking, I pulled the video from my backyard camera and went right down to the police station to report the confrontation, but nobody was available to talk to me due to an incident that was going on the same day. So, I emailed the officer I've been dealing with and CC'd every other officer I had the email of and sent the video to him, stating this is the 3rd time he's trespassed since being formally trespassed, and I need something to be done about it because it feels like harassment at this point. I immediately got an email back saying they would address it, and that they would contact me the next day, Friday. Friday came and went, and I never heard from anybody. Then the whole weekend passed. Then Monday, nothing. So Tuesday, I emailed the officer again saying that I was just checking in, as they said they'd talk to me by last Friday and it was now Tuesday with no update. I still hadn't heard anything until right now, today. I got a call from the officer which I couldn't answer at the time, and he left me a voicemail. I'm going to copy and paste the voicemail transcription so you can read it for yourself. Here it is. "Hi, my name, it's Officer," his name. "I just wanted to get back in touch with you and provide you an update in regards to your complaint about your neighbor there. Myself and other officer, did go up there this past weekend. It would have been on Saturday. We talked to my neighbor, in regards to the consistent trespass. Also we informed him that we will be filing a criminal charge, for defiant trespass against him. I don't think I'll need you to testify for that in court because I do have the videos that you sent me. However, if that changes, I can give you a call and let you know. If he's on your property any further going forward, please do let us know. And let us know if he persists with this silly tree business. He was kind of receptive to the information and maybe seemed to get a reality check. If you have any problems at all though, just give us a call. Thank you, bye. I haven't spoken to the officer, but if I do have to testify in court I'll be more than happy to. He said that my neighbor seemed to have a reality check, so I'm really hoping this is the last I have to deal with him, but I'm not expecting that to be the case. Either way, I'm feeling really good about this. I'll keep my doors locked and my eyes on the back of my head, though. The police assured me when they raided his house last year there were no weapons and that nobody in the house has a violent history, but you can never be too safe. I haven't heard from him, anybody on his behalf, or anybody else since the confrontation. Again, thanks to everybody for the suggestions on what to and how to deal with the situation. I'm still a first-time homeowner so this is all new to me. I've become intimately familiar with tree law and trespass law now because of this, for better or for worse. Of course, should anything else happen I'll be quick to make an update post here. Thanks for your time. Edit, it's a misdemeanor in our state, not a felony. My mistake. Regardless, maximum penalty is 1 year in prison and a $2,500 fine. Stories number 37. My husband, M29, forgot our midsummer plans and left last minute for a trip with his mom, F27, ended up alone and overwhelmed. What can I do? I really need a reality check. My husband and I had planned to celebrate midsummer together specifically by visiting my family, as he had previously promised to join me for that. I had organized my week around that plan, including scheduling time to finish my work just before we were supposed to leave. Then, the day before, he suddenly told me he was going on a trip with his mom instead, something he had apparently promised her too, but forgot about because of stress. His spontaneous change of plans totally derailed my day. I had been depending on that day to finish work, but I was too upset and distracted to get anything done. That meant I had to spend midsummer working instead. When my family found out what happened, they kindly said I could still come to them, but by that point, it was too late to reorganize everything. So I stayed home, alone, doing the work I should have been able to finish the day before while he went on a 4-day vacation with his mom. To make things worse, he barely contacted me during the trip. Not even a call. Now he's saying we'll go to an exclusive restaurant, that he'll buy me a much fancier wedding ring, I currently wear one that belonged to my mother, and that we'll go on a nice vacation. At first I was willing to forgive him because he seemed to want to make amends. But honestly, it feels hollow. Like he's trying to buy himself out of the guilt rather than acknowledging what happened. What also makes this harder is that his relationship with his mom isn't even close or emotionally intimate, she buys a lot of things for him. The relationship with my parents isn't perfect, but it's more authentic but less financially supportive. I provide much more for myself, but I am the one made to feel as a burden if I have to ask them. I just finished my degree and haven't secured clinical residency yet, he is still a student. For him it's natural that his mother, including fund money, pays for him. His father is not alive and that's why it's only his mother. I don't want expensive rings or lavish dinners, I just wanted my partner to be there, to keep his word, and to support me. I don't even know if I can trust these promises anymore, i.e. if he will even keep his promise. And yes, I have said that I want him to take me out to restaurants, or buy me a nice ring, but that's because all restaurant visit is always on my initiative. As I'm supposedly much better at project managing household tasks. He also forgot to buy me flowers for my graduation. But it's not supposed to be a substitute for being there. Overall, my husband and I have a good relationship. We get along, have fun, support each other, most of the time. But about once a month, something like this happens. What makes this harder is that his relationship with his mom is complicated. She has been a deeply problematic parent in many ways, even very abusive. There's a dynamic where she gives him money, buys him things and he keeps her happy. Otherwise he would have cut ties with her. I come from a different background. My parents would never fund a vacation for me, I have to pay for every single thing. They have given me money from my grandparents however. I am very thankful, but my husband doesn't have to feel that way. Instead, they do the unpaid labor, so they support more in other ways, but that is not always acknowledged by his mother. It reminds me of my grandparents, actually. My paternal grandparents, my dad's side, gave money and that's where every financial gift I ever received came from. But my maternal grandparents were the ones who showed up. They were socially present, warm, and supportive. Still, somehow, the money ended up counting more. The relationship with them was always a bit less genuine. I even thought, maybe it's like neurodivergence. He comes from a family of engineers and researchers, but I don't think so anymore. I've worked with neurodivergent people, including autistic individuals, and they can be very empathetic once they understand what's going on. It feels like genuine self-centeredness, a lack of instinct to prioritize me when it actually costs something. Most of the time, my relationship with my husband is good. Can a relationship still be good if once a month you feel invisible? Is it okay to start questioning everything when most of the time, things are fine? I've told him more than once, this isn't sustainable. This isn't what a relationship should feel like. I've said clearly that we can't keep going like this. But I haven't left. I haven't drawn a final line. And I think because of that, he sees my reactions as threats, not reality. And to be fair, sometimes our problems are just about bad communication. Information doesn't always get across. We miss each other, but I had a deadline. I had structured my week. And then he casually dropped, by the way, I'm leaving for a trip. That's not a small thing. That was the day I was supposed to finish everything. And when I tried to express how I felt, calmly, even gently, I didn't lash out, I didn't blame. He wrote, "Happy Midsummer everybody," in our group chat with my parents, where I answered and I literally said, "I'm glad you're having a nice midsummer. I'm actually completely alone right now." And then explained why this isn't okay. I was told by my parents not to make him feel guilty. That he's struggling too. And that he actually made amends by telling me that he will buy me things, but will he really and how? Not empathy for how I feel like he's trying to buy himself out of this situation. Also, I do not get empathy from my social network, so it's hard to stand up for myself when people empathize more with him. He is very charming, so they probably take his side. He has never spoken against them. They only see me speaking up against things. He doesn't speaks up but always plays along. They do not stand up for me, but claim that everyone needs to be kind when I assert myself. I'm not sure what to do really. Stories number 38. Entitled coworker expects me to lend her $500 because I got my tax refund. Y'all, my coworker has officially lost her mind. Got my tax refund last week, $3,000 from tax refund plus $2K that I won on stake that I'm planning on using its security deposit on a new apartment, and somehow this became office gossip. Now my desk neighbor thinks this makes me the workplace bank apparently. She straight up asked me to lend her $500 for her vacation because you just got all that money back from taxes anyway. Like, ma'am, that's literally my money that the government was holding hostage all year, LMAO. When I said no, she hit me with, "Wow, I thought we were friends," and now she's telling everyone I'm being greedy with my windfall. Bestie, that refund is already spent on adult responsibilities, not funding your trip to Cancun. The audacity is truly unmatched. Anyone else have coworkers who think your financial business is their emergency fund? Wild times out here far. Stories number 39. Vent, wasted 7 years with a man-child. I, 31F, have been with my boyfriend, 30M, for 7 years, and emotionally, I've checked out. I'm burned out as well, can't sleep and completely anxiety-ridden. We own a house together and have a dog, so it's not a quick split, but I'm actively and quietly planning my exit. I just needed to get this off my chest because I feel like I've been living a double life, pretending everything is fine on the surface whilst I make arrangements behind the scenes. Stories number 41. AIO, my girlfriend's dream journal is actually a daily log of my activities. I'm asking this to see if I'm the one who's completely lost my mind here. My 28M girlfriend, 25F, has this dream journal she's always writing in. I thought it was cute, you know, expressing her inner world and all that. She claims it can help her understand her subconscious better, which made sense to me. Anyway, last night, she accidentally left it open on her bedside table. I wasn't trying to snoop, but a page was open, and a phrase caught my eye. 10:17 a.m., he got coffee with 2 sugars, just like I knew he would. My stomach dropped. I glanced at another entry, 3:45 p.m., called his mom. Sounded a little stressed. Must remember to bring up the job thing later. It wasn't a dream journal. It was a play-by-play of my day. Every single entry was about me. My movements, my conversations, even ones she wasn't present for, my habits. It was incredibly detailed, almost like a surveillance log. I haven't confronted her yet because I'm genuinely trying to figure out if this is some bizarre form of affection I'm not understanding, or if I should be calling my therapist and maybe looking into changing my locks. Am I overreacting by feeling deeply, deeply creeped out? Is this a normal girlfriend thing I'm just too dense to grasp? Or is this a massive red flag waving in my face? Like I really like her and haven't had any major issues with our relationship. She's like the sweetest person ever and hasn't shown any signs of being crazy, but now I'm a little scared for my safety. What do I do? Update. I followed the advice of you Wobrad35, which suggested that I ask her what she's writing about while she is in the middle of writing. I was on the couch reading a book when I noticed her writing in her journal from the other couch. I asked her what she was writing about and why she was writing her dream journal when she hadn't even gone to sleep yet. She told me that she doesn't always use it for dreams and sometimes uses it as a regular diary. I didn't feel like lying, so I just admitted that I had glanced at it earlier and noticed that she was logging my daily activities. Her face got about as red as a tomato, and she got real quiet for a minute. She said that she knows how bad it looks and that her journal is meant to be a relationship sync journal, as she called it. She says that humans rarely scratch the surface of truly understanding each other, even when they're in relationships. She says her goal is to achieve a deep and intuitive connection with me. Basically, she wants to instinctively know my moods and behaviors so she can be the best partner possible, which explains the entry about me putting 2 sugars in my coffee, which I don't even think I paid attention to how many sugars I put in my coffee. She thinks that this will lead to us having an unbreakable bond. It sounds absolutely insane, but when she was explaining it, some of it made sense, I'm not going to lie. She made it out to sound like the sweetest thing ever, but if she truly wanted us to be in sync, why didn't she ask me to also track her movements? How does this strengthen our connection if she knows me to this extreme of an extent when I don't know her to that extent? Part of me almost wishes that she just said she was stalking me, but this explanation almost leaves me feeling more confused. I'm torn. Is this a good explanation, or is this just her justifying obsessive and crazy behavior? Update 2. First off, I want to clarify a few things based on the comments from my last post. It was overwhelming trying to respond to everyone. My girlfriend isn't on the autism spectrum, she doesn't display many related traits. Also, I don't work in a field with sensitive information, so this isn't a case of work espionage. Some of you mentioned possible mental health issues, which she's never brought up, but after what I found this morning, I'd find it highly unlikely she isn't struggling with something. So, we had a discussion about the relationship sync journals last night after my last update. She was very forthcoming, and I genuinely believed she was coming from a sincere place. I told her she didn't have to study my every move to strengthen our bond and that we could learn about each other through shared activities. She seemed satisfied with that and agreed to stop the journal since they made me uncomfortable. She even offered to let me read the whole journal, which I did. Most of the entries were just notes on my likes and dislikes, but one entry really stood out. She was tracking my Facebook activity log. For those wondering how she knew about conversations I wasn't present for, we sometimes share my laptop, and I'd forgotten I was logged into Facebook on it. That made me feel uneasy. Since I primarily work from home, after she left this morning, I decided to check the garage. I remembered seeing some notebooks in a box out there. What I discovered was horrifying. There wasn't just one relationship sync journal, but 5 of them, completely filled with entries dating back a year before we even started dating. We knew each other through friends before dating, so I wasn't a complete stranger, but some of these entries are from before we were even friendly, when we just had minor, cordial encounters. She's been tracking my Facebook for a long time. In one journal, there was essentially a diagram cross-referencing my likes, comments, friend lists, and family members, seemingly to determine who I was closest to. There was also an entry about my ex-girlfriend, where she was taking notes from social media to speculate about why we broke up. Her goal was to prevent herself from making the same mistake as my ex. Even more disturbingly, she had notes about my browser history, specifically mentioning that she'd watched some adult videos from my history to understand how to please me better. She also has entries analyzing my reactions to certain things, my body language, and other details to understand my subconscious motivations. I felt really bad yesterday when some comments suggested I was a bad boyfriend for not appreciating how thoughtful she was, which is why I tried to be so understanding last night. But now, I am genuinely terrified and am contemplating leaving the house before she comes back. Stories number 42. Aita for taking away my dad's girlfriend's keys after she tried to send me to bed, June 6, 2025. For context, I 21F have 4 siblings 26M, 23M, 12F and 10M. Our uncle has been our legal guardian since our mom passed, and my dad has been out of our lives. My 23 years old brother and I are home for the summer from college. My oldest brother lives in the city. Since we've come home my uncle's been away on a work trip, so it's just been me and my siblings around the house. Further context, my dad used to be a problem drinker and was basically estranged for half of my life, very limited contact, and growing up it's always been my siblings and I taking care of each other. For the past year or so, my dad has been wanting to reconnect with us, mainly my younger siblings. He's been getting better in his habits, he was clean for 3 years and managed to keep his act together. Because of this, we've allowed a couple of visits from time to time. 4 months ago he started seeing someone new, quite a bit younger than him, in her 30s, and she seems to have this strange obsession with playing mom. She visits way more frequently than he does and seems to be under the impression that she's our new stepmom. I think it's kind of weird, but we just let her do her thing since she's not harming anyone. She does have this patronizing way of addressing us. It's better with my oldest brothers, but with me it gets a little ridiculous sometimes. Again, I kinda just ignore it and go about my own business. A few weeks before my brother and I came home, she was helping my uncle pick up our younger siblings from school and driving them home. Because of that, she was given a key to the house. Since then, she's around all the time and just playing parent to my younger siblings, but not really doing much because my older brothers and I take care of the responsibilities. In short, the situation started when we had her and my dad over for dinner. My brothers cooked a great meal, and it was all going good until my dad ended up making a very insensitive and inappropriate joke during dinner, and she corroborated that joke by making a really ugly insinuation about our late mother. Not gonna get into that. We saw them out and that was that. We put the kids to bed and kinda talked about what happened and informed our uncle about the situation. We were all unsure of what to do. The next afternoon both my brothers were busy with work, and I picked up the kids from school and got home to my dad's girlfriend in our kitchen. This was the first time she's let herself in when nobody was home, and it caught me kinda off guard. She had basically come to apologize on my dad's behalf. She said that he felt so ashamed he couldn't bear coming here. I sent the kids to their rooms and explained the situation to her. I also communicated to her that I found her comment to be extremely inappropriate and in poor taste. She started laughing it off, but I was clear with her that we wouldn't tolerate anything like that again. And then she said something like, "Ah, it's so cute that you're trying to be their mom, their adult." I kinda just blinked at her. The remainder of that conversation she had that same attitude, just not taking me seriously and treating me patronizingly. Naturally I got fed up and got started on dinner. IDK where she went for the next while. I think she went into the kids' rooms to help them with homework, but she stuck around for the rest of the night. Out of the kindness of my heart I cooked extra food for her even though she didn't ask for permission to stay, and lo and behold, she stayed for dinner. Later on in the night she was fawning over the kids again, and around 10, in her stepmom manner she was like, "Okay my dears. It's time for bed." My younger siblings were in the living room watching TV. They're usually pretty disciplined at going to bed themselves. At this, they looked over to me, gave me the look like what is this lady doing, and I just shrugged, and they went off to their rooms because it was close to their usual bedtime anyway. Now wait for this. I'm in the kitchen cleaning up. Dad's girlfriend is on her phone at the island. She looks up at me and says, "You too, hon." It crosses my mind that she could have been joking, but I devise after a moment that this was not a joke, and she was in fact sending me to bed. So, I say, "What?" She says, "It's getting late, time for bed." And kind of tuts at me. To remind you guys, I am 21 years old. I go to college and am working almost full-time in the summer. I've been taking care of my family since I was 12. This woman has been dating my estranged father for barely half a year. So, I give her the benefit of the doubt, that she clearly has some mental issues and is a little crazy. I tell her I think it's time that she went home. She is insistent that I go on to bed, still acting like she's my mom. This gets me a little ticked off. I explain to her that I feel disrespected being talked to like that, and that I'm an adult. And as an extension to our previous conversation, I need her to take me seriously because I don't joke around about my family or my siblings, and she is on thin ice. She continues to laugh me off and goes on in the super patronizing tone. Again, she uses the phrase, "It's so cute when teenagers try to act like adults." Throws in some stuff about me having a hissy fit and being rebellious. At this point I'm just so fed up by everything, I simply say, "You have 5 minutes to get your things and leave this house." In response she scoffs and gets up and walks off to the bathroom, and on the way I hear her say something along the lines of, "No wonder Anatole, Dad, says you're a frigid little priss." When she's in the bathroom, I go over to her handbag and her keys on the couch. She has a gigantic key ring and a ton of keys, so knowing she won't notice, I remove our house key from the ring. Then I go back to my room. I hear her leave maybe 20 minutes later. The next day, I get a bunch of texts from her, panicking about the key. I told her I took it. She said some stuff, called me a brat, saying she was going to tell my uncle and brothers, and I was being childish. I told her I was at work and if she wanted to talk, she could call me at 4. Otherwise, she could go bother my brothers about it, but they were at work too, so good luck with that. She went off again with the "stop pretending to be an adult" thing and said that my younger siblings were like her kids and she needed to take care of them, and this was unsafe. The last text I sent her was, "This is the last I'll say this. You've been disrespectful of me and my brothers since we met and dismissed my attempts to communicate with you. I'm no longer investing energy into enduring your behavior. I'm going to be honest, there is very little chance that you are going to get that key back. This is not helping those chances. Like I said, 4 p.m., you can call. She yapped some more, then blew up my brother's phones and texted my uncle as well. I'm writing this as this is occurring. I told my brothers a bit about what happened when she came over, but they don't know the full story. My uncle is also in the dark about this. But I'll tell them what happened if I need to. Look, I don't doubt that in her heart she does truly care for my younger siblings. I don't think she's a bad person or anything, plus my uncle trusted her enough to give her entry into his house. She just really pissed me off. Her whole stepmom act is also really facetious to me. I'd have no problem letting her help out around the house if she was respectful and communicated that's what she wanted. Anyways. Ada, gentle update, I had put this in the comments but for those who didn't see, after Dad's girlfriend's freak out my uncle called me and said, "What's this she's saying about you stole her keys and kicked her out?" And he was already laughing as he said this, because he knows and trusts me and he knows I'm a level-headed person. And I told him, yeah, she tried to put me to bed and called me a priss, and that cracked him up hard. When I told my brothers too, they were like, wow, I'm surprised you didn't knock her out. They both knew she could be a little weird but never had she been like that. I think it was because it was the first time she and I were alone. She is not coming back to the house. Not picking up the kids again. Only sees the kids when they hang out with Dad and oldest brother is around. My uncle has full custody of kids. They are safe. There is more nutty stuff going on with her though. We'll have another update prepared soon. It's gonna be very interesting. Update, the official update is posted in my profile. It was taken down for being too long. First of all, to all those who were concerned about the mental stability of my dad's girlfriend and the safety of our family, do not worry, the children are safe and sound. As I said, I've informed the adults of the family about everything. The kids always have one of us around, and yes, my uncle has full legal custody of them. My dad is, in the nicest way possible, a spineless pathetic shit. Even if his girlfriend wanted to use him to do something, she wouldn't be able to. My uncle has a stable career, is renowned in his field, loved in the neighborhood, so there is no possible legal battle that could be put up. Furthermore, we are keeping an eye on her, and she only sees the kids when my dad sees them. Since the beginning of summer she hasn't picked them up. That was always going to be temporary. And no, she won't be picking them up again. We took your guys' advice and called the school. The kids are out for the summer already, but they know for next semester. We do have cameras around the house. We confirmed that the incident was the first time she was at the house alone. This isn't meant to relieve myself of any responsibility, but I really didn't see that incident coming. She was on good terms with my uncle, friends with my oldest brother, she loved the kids loved her, besides the occasional weirdness toward me and brother number 2, it seemed fine. I see lots of, why did she have the key in the first place? Again, she was a trusted adult in my uncle's eyes. She was his brother's girlfriend and he thought he knew her well. She volunteered to help pick the kids up after school on days my uncle got a little busy. So, he gave her a key to the house so she could get the kids home safely. A lot of you expressed frustration for how I handled the situation, saying I should have been more proactive or been meaner to her. All fair. I'm sure some of you would have done much better than me. I am simply a low-energy person who's not very reactionary. That's all I can say. But those disappointed that I didn't respond with violence don't seem to understand that you can't risk that with kids in the house. That's not something I want them to see, and God forbid if it escalates, it could put them in danger. As it turns out, you guys were right. She was mistaken about my age, not that it excuses her behavior. She thought I was 18. My uncle cleared it up with her. Yes, I did get an apology after what happened. No, I really can't give a shit. She apologized by saying she was so sorry about what she said and she sensed disrespect from my end which made her defensive, and I just said okay, and left it at that. She apologized to the rest of the family as well about her joke at dinner, and about the comment my dad supposedly made. I have it on good authority that she just fabricated it. You guys don't have to believe me. But I know my father to the bone and he isn't like that. Other than that, thank you all for the ceaseless support. I'm reading all of your comments even if I'm not responding. I appreciate all of your thoughts and advice. For the ease of the rest of this, my dad's girlfriend will be called Sorrel, and my older brothers are Henri, eldest, and Teddy, second. Alright. Get some goddamn popcorn. Here we go. It's my little brother's elementary school graduation and the whole family's there, and my uncle, via FaceTime. Henry's girlfriend, who, after hearing this whole story, hates Sorrel, is there as well. Very happy occasion. Dad is banned. Boo-hoo. After photos are taken, we all go to the park. Little brother loves watching the ducks and digging for snails, and I notice Henri is very distracted by his phone. I ask him what's up. Turns out he was sending photos of the graduation to our dad, which is fine, but he's now asking to come say hi to us at the park since he's nearby. We decide okay, it's a special day, we're all in a good mood, kids want to see their dad too, so dad shows up with Sorrel. Immediately as soon as they get out of the car and greet the kids, Sorrel looks to me, makes a snarky joke, "Oh hi everyone, hi, hey, oh and there's mom, I'm mom, For the sake of the happy children I just exchange glances with my brothers and say nothing. Throughout the park time she mostly interacts with the kids and Henri. Teddy and Henry's girlfriend get us hot dogs, we move to the picnic bench to eat, and I'm hungry as hell so I wipe up 3 dogs in a matter of 5 seconds. Here Sorrel says the second thing of the day to me, "You're gonna have a lot of yakking to do after that." And she gestures to her mouth with her fingers. Context: I'm healthy and slim. I have a high metabolism. So I naturally eat a lot. I take this as her saying that I'll have to pull trig. So I just say, I don't do that. And I keep eating. Fast forward, Henri and his girlfriend have gone to the bathroom, we're wrapping up, Sorrel turns to my dad and goes, "Babe, if you're tired, I can take the kids home." Teddy snorts into his water cup and says something like, "Lady you're crazy." I say, "Nah we're good." She says, "Are you sure?" I don't mind driving. I tell her I drove. She says, "You can drive." This makes my younger siblings look at each other and giggle. At this point I am just sitting back sipping on my soda helping my little brother sort the rocks that he collected like I don't care what comes out of this lady's mouth anymore. Dad steps in, context here, I learned driving from my dad, he used to be a street racer, and he goes, "Yeah she drives like a bat out of hell." My car is sitting down the street in view. He points to it and says, "That's her ride, nice isn't it? I spent years working on it." Sorrel goes to my dad, "So that's where all your money ends up." Dad says, "Oh no her money." Sorrel starts asking me a bunch of questions about how much the car was, how much money I make, etc. It was really weird. Henri and his girlfriend return. More small talk happens. We get on the topic of Henry's work banquet. Context: it's a big gala event held at an opera house, there's an earlier mingle for my brother and a +1, then the family comes for the banquet. My brother's girlfriend has to get knee surgery the day before, so I'm supposed to go as the +1. So he's talking about the whole event. My brother asks our dad and Sorrel if they'd like to be there, but it's very late notice so it's okay if they can't. They say of course they'll come. Henry's girlfriend says, "So sad I won't be there." So Sorrel goes, "Who are you walking in with then?" Henri says, "I asked Charlie, me, by default after we found out girlfriend couldn't be there." Sorrel's like, "Your sister. Isn't that kind of weird?" And she does this face scrunch thing. Henry's girlfriend wasn't putting up with it, she just said, no. Not weird at all. Then Sorrel says to Henri, "Alright but we'll get some photos together right?" And before he can say anything his girlfriend goes like, "Yeah there's the family photo stuff at the end. I don't know if they have it for extended family though." And turns and walks off to throw away the trash. That kinda wraps up the park day. 2 nights later. Henri is back at his apartment with his girlfriend. I'm home with my other siblings. I get a FaceTime call from him. I pick up, he says, "Get Teddy. Right now." I get my other brother. Henri is apparently bewildered about something. I can hear his girlfriend in the background. He tells me he's sending me screenshots, I say okay. Teddy and I read them. The screenshots are of Henry's text conversation with Sorrel. He only had Sorrel's contact in case of emergency, when she was picking up the kids from school last month. As we're reading them, Henri explains that she initiated a light text conversation after the incident with me, just asking after our general well-being, making small talk. He held her at arm's length but to be nice texted her back. The texts he sent me start off with Sorrel asking about the gala again and what she should wear. Henri politely texts back that he already communicated this with his dad, so she can just ask him. After a few more texts she goes back to the topic of his +1 for the carpet event. She says that it would be so good for her networking, blah blah, she works in a similar sector as my brother, that he should make sure to get photos of them together, and was he sure he wanted to go with me as his +1? And she said the brother-sister thing might be kinda weird, like people might mistake that we're dating. He responded curtly that it's very normal and he's taking me, and then she starts asking about where he takes his lunch. Context: it was mentioned at the park that my brother sometimes misses lunch because he sleeps in and doesn't have time to pack it in the morning, especially on the days he has to drive the kids to school. She then offers to bring him lunch at his work. Her last text reads, "Wouldn't want my baby boy to go hungry." My jaw is on the floor. Teddy is cackling. I can hear Henry's girlfriend in the background going, "That bitch, that bitch." None of us have any idea if she meant baby boy in her weird stepmother way or if it was an intercourse innuendo. Because God knows with this woman at this point. We come to the decision that these screenshots are going straight to my dad. We consider maybe it was just a weird millennial thing, the way she texts, and we're thinking we probably will have to have a conversation with her about her behavior, me and my brothers. Because as of right now we're reckoning with the fact that this lady may be impregnated by our brick-headed father and be the future mother of our next sibling. Which would be a fucking nightmare. The same night Henri tries to talk to our dad about our concerns with Sorrel but gets brushed off. Gala day. I go to the mixer with Henri, and Teddy arrives later with the kids in tow. At the banquet she's doing her weird mom thing again, telling the kids to go make their plates, lecturing them about vegetables, etc. I have to keep an eye on them because my little sister is allergic to almost everything on the planet and my little brother is autistic and has sensory issues that will cause him to throw up when he tries to eat something that he forgets he doesn't like. I'd packed meds and sandwiches for the kids in lieu of the issues mentioned above. Little bro had stacked his plate upon Sorrel's instruction, but when he got back to the table, the food on the plate was touching, so he couldn't eat it anymore. Sorrel starts tutaying and tells him to eat, but by God you could hold a gun to his head and that kid will not touch his plate. Parents of kids with autism, you know what I'm talking about. He says he's lost his appetite and asks me if I have any food and I silently give him the sandwiches I'd packed because I knew this would happen. Sorrel tells me to stop babying him. Looks to Dad for support. Dad puts his hands up, he knows he can't step in about shit. Little sis comes back next with a Greek salad on her plate. Henri and I automatically start picking the olives out, stone fruit allergy, and Sorrel starts again with the babying comment, "These kids are gonna grow up to be picky eaters if you baby them like that." Henri explains she's allergic. Sorrel suggests that we can fix it with exposure therapy. I tell her that she will vomit if she eats olives. I then suggest that she go take some photos with Henri because I'm starting to grow irritated with her presence at the table. When Sorrel returns, I'm giving my little sis her mealtime meds. I've been administering my little sibling's medication since I was 16. Sorrel slides into the seat next to us, puts her hands out, starts saying in a hushed voice, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" She can't take that with food. I gather that she's mistaken it for my sister's HT meds, which she's seen us give her 2 hours before dinner usually because it can't be mixed up with food. But I'm giving her diabetes mealtime meds. Funny enough, it's my little sister that speaks up first. She's quick as a whip, and says, "No, I need to take it now. It's metformin. If I don't have it I'll poop myself." This makes us laugh. Sorrel goes, "Oh. I thought it was her Synthroid." Teddy says, "Nope, I gave that to her in the car." Sorrel goes, "Oh, you could have told me that." Teddy says, "Why would I?" Mazarit, come on now. After the dinner and speeches are over, we get in line for family photos. While we're in line my little sister starts to feel sick from the soda she drank and I take her to the bathroom. She ends up vomiting but feels better immediately afterwards. Some of it ends up on my dress so I have her go get water and go back to the family while I clean up in the bathroom. As I'm cleaning up, Teddy starts texting me. Apparently, they had reached the head of the line and were waiting for me, but Sorrel kept insisting that they go on ahead and get photos taken. Clearly everyone found this incredulous and Henri had them step out of the line. Sorrel and Dad ended up going ahead to take their photos and rejoins the family. When I get back to them, Teddy was holding onto my scarf and he puts it back around my neck, then Sorrel reaches over and tugs part of the scarf down to cover more of my chest I guess, and she's like, "That's better. More family friendly," and winks at me. I readjust it and say, "Please don't presume to touch me ever again." I didn't mean it in a rude way, I said it very calmly, I literally just meant what I said. But this offends her greatly. She grabs Henri and says, "Oh my God, did you hear her?" But my dad pulls her away a little and he's whispering to her to calm down and whatnot. We get to the carpet for the photo. Sorrel starts ushering and arranging us like, "Dad over here, okay, brother here, little ones in front," and she puts her and my dad in the center, like they're the parents, with their hands on the shoulders of the kids in front, and my older brothers on either side. She put me off to the side, obviously. I can't care anymore. I just want to get out of there and go home. After a few photos Henri kindly suggests we take some of just him and his siblings. And then he pulls me to the center and as we're rearranging he whispers to me, "Good job putting up with this, we're almost done." A few more photos, then Sorrel says, "How about just me and the boys," and she has me and my little sister step off. Then she giggles, wait, carry me," and proceeds to jump onto my dad and Henri, and has them lift her in front of them. We do a last full family one to finish it off, for which she arranges me behind her so she's pretty much completely blocking me from the camera. Again, I'm tired and exasperated so I could not care less. As the banquet wraps up, we head on outside, getting ready to leave. Henri takes the kids for a bathroom trip before the drive. We're making small talk. At some point the topic of dessert comes up and I make a comment about the crème brûlée they had, and I pronounce it in French. Because it's a French word. And I'm French. And Sorrel interrupts and goes, crème brûlée, in a really exaggerated mockery of how I said it, and she laughs like it's funny. Unfortunately, that was my last straw, and I say, Anatole, take your girlfriend and get in the car, right now. Because I'm about to kick this woman in the head. She scoffs and looks at me like I'm acting out and says, sweetie, that's no way to talk to me or your dad. I tell her that her glue-on eyelash is falling off, it is, and I start walking to my car. I'm pretty sure I hear her calling me a bitch as I'm walking away. I get in my car, and I see, and distantly hear, her and my dad and Teddy arguing. Henri comes back out with the kids, and Teddy takes them back to the other car while Henri stays to hash it out. Sorrel is obviously having it out about me because I can see her angrily pointing at my car as she's talking to Henri. I change out of my heels in the car and Teddy texts that he's gonna start driving home with the kids. He said he basically told Sorrel to go fuck herself and my dad to dump her. After a while Henri comes back to the car and gets in looking very haggard. I asked him what happened. He just leans back and blows out air with a hand on his forehead and says, Elle a Pete on cable, like she has gone crazy. So, I start the car and we're about to get on our way when I hear a rap on my window, and Sorrel and my dad are standing there. So I open the car door. Sorrel is crying hysterically and blubbering something, her makeup is running, my dad supporting her by the elbows, and immediately I regret not just driving away, but now it's too late and they're standing in the way of the door. I can barely understand what she's saying, but it's something along the lines of, I don't know what I did to deserve this treatment, I don't know what I did to you, you don't have to be so protective about everything, whatever. So I tell her that I personally am done with her, but out of respect for her relation with my dad, she can have a conversation with Henri or my uncle tomorrow, but I think she should just go home for now. She stopped crying but she's still talking hysterically, and says, no but like what is your problem with me, everything was fine until you came back, you're starting all of this for no reason, like you don't want the kids to have a mom, like I raised them too, and I say that yes, actually, I don't want the kids to have a mom like her, nor do they, and I reach to close the car door but she steps in the way and keeps going. Why are you so territorial? Not everything's a competition, I'm not here to steal your spot. Just because you think you should be the only woman around, does not mean you should treat other women disrespectfully. At this point I'm trying to budge her out of the way so I can close the door. My dad is in the background telling his girlfriend that they should go. Henri is chiming in saying, Dad, get her out of here, and she's struggling to stay in front of the door. I go into the glove box and I grab this key to our old storage unit that we don't use anymore. I yell at her to shut up and this silences her momentarily. I hold up the key, looks close enough to our house key, I tell her to fetch and toss it behind her. She goes to get the key. I had accidentally grabbed a $5 bill with it, so before I closed the door I stuffed the $5 into my dad's dinner jacket, and I don't remember what I said because I was so mad, but it was something like, go buy yourself a better side piece, and I ran the gas out of there. So, we've just gotten home. She blew up Henry's phone on the drive back and kept trying to call him. I sincerely hope this is the end of the story and I won't have to give another update. If I do, it will either be because my dad has left her, or he's gotten her pregnant. Praying it won't be the latter. I'm turning in. I'll answer questions in the comments. Thank you for bearing with the story. I hope I never have to hear or see this woman again, but I'm guessing that's not likely. Quick update because this is pissing me the fuck off. I really don't give a shit if anyone thinks this story is fake, that's fine. If I read it, I'd think it's fake too. So that's whatever. But I just had someone come into my comments to try to say that this story was ChatGPT generated, because I used proper capitalization and M-dashes, and my last story was written like a hot mess, so how could this one be written properly? I am going to blow my fucking fuse. Take a look in my last post at the amount of people who gave me shit about my capitalization, punctuation, and my rambling that made it obnoxious to read. I specifically wrote this one a bit nicer, with proper caps. For you guys, I need to emphasize that both were typed out on my phone, the first quite harried, this one not much better but with more care, and I will not have you guys call me a shit writer in my first post just for me to put a bit more energy into this one and have it called a fucking AI production. This is the last I'll entertain of this. Run some GPT checkers if you're so insistent. God forgive me for not putting the brainwork of a Tolkien saga into these posts. May my Reddit Uber be spared from the ignominy of AI allegation. Second small update to address some common questions. Why are you still letting her around? Why are you still tolerating her? Why didn't you just get her out of your lives? After the dinner incident, we saw her on 2 more occasions, which were 2 days apart, at the park after the graduation and at the banquet. She was only at the park because she tagged along with my dad, who my little brother wanted to see. And she was at the banquet because my oldest brother was still optimistic that we could repair something with her. I, as well as Teddy and his girlfriend, advised him to rescind his invitation. This part was too long to include in the story, but that night when he spoke to his dad about Sorrel, his dad basically begged him to give her another chance and said that they could all talk as a family after the banquet. He also said the texts, and Sorrel's snarky jokes, were just a harmless part of her character. The banquet was already the next day, anyway, so my brother thought, they can come, and we can discuss things afterwards. Neither of those events involving her was at my call to say whether or not she should have been there. Plus, as I'd already mentioned, the only reason we considered maintaining our relationship with her is the possibility that she could be the mother of our next sibling. I want to reiterate that these events starting from the family dinner took course over the period of 3 days. It happened very quickly, and for the majority of that time we were deliberating the right course of action. 2. What about your dad? Why are you treating him so good all of a sudden? First he's a no-good deadbeat and now he's allowed at all these events. We are not really treating him any differently. He was banned from the graduation, but my little brother wanted to see him afterwards. He was invited to the gala because Henri felt bad that he wasn't allowed at the grad. He does not normally attend family events with us. The gala is the first thing he's come to in many, many years. Regularly, he sees the kids every other week, for the past half a year now. He was absent and not a good dad for most of my life, thus I refer to him so harshly. I do recognize that people have the potential to change, and I'm not going to so quickly squander a chance for my younger siblings to grow up with a dad better than the one I knew. So, I'm getting ready for work as I write this. This morning Henri was at this hospital with his girlfriend who's recovering from knee surgery, but we had a family FaceTime with him and my uncle and kind of unpacked everything. My uncle is going to talk to dad about this whole thing. Our consensus is that we don't really want to see her again, and she's not allowed on visits or to contact the kids. We've also blocked her number. Stories number 43. I said yes and I am so happy, but I hate the ring. He proposed today at his childhood home and it was so sweet, and so unexpected. I am really happy, but I hate this ring NGL. I don't know if to tell him or not. He seems so proud about his choice and I don't want to hurt his feelings. He is already a bit hurt because we called my parents to tell them about the engagement and they low-key attacked him. We had not talked about rings and I had not given him any hints, because we have been together for exactly 1 year today and I had never thought he would propose, but only last week his brother got engaged and I told him I loved simple, oval-cut rings. He seems to have ignored that. Should I keep my mouth shut or just tell him I hate the ring? Some of comments. Commenter, definitely talk to him. Maybe you could suggest shopping together for the new ring since this one isn't your style. Reply, thank you so much. That is exactly how I feel. I don't want to hurt him. I cannot afford to buy a ring by myself though. I am 19 and still a student, so maybe I should keep my mouth shut. I know he can afford another ring, but I don't want to look like a spoiled brat. Commenter, yeah, this looks like a K jeweler's ring. My brother-in-law just proposed with a similar ring from K, but it's not every woman's style. I hated my original ring too, you should tell him. I upgraded after the wedding, married 24 years. Reply, it was exactly from K's. I am so impressed at your ILOL. The thing that gets me is that I told him just last week that I like simple rings, oval shape. We went out to help his brother ring shopping. What I am thinking is, if he was planning to propose to me, wouldn't he be keeping notes? But I don't want to be critical either. I lost my mind over a bezel ring, oval cut, it was so simple and so beautiful, and I kept telling his brother that he should get that one. I am probably overthinking all this. Then OOP drops this in the comments. Thank you so much. Yes, I am a little upset because we went to help his brother ring shopping last week. I said so many times that I like oval-shaped, simple design. If he had planned to propose to me, wouldn't he be keeping notes? I don't want to be a spoiled brat, but this makes me a little sad. He has been a wonderful boyfriend this past year, no red flags about him. My parents are not thrilled because he is 32 and I am 19, so they never approved of this relationship. I think you are right though, I will tell him and his reaction will show a lot. Commenter, oh lordy. There's the red flag. No wonder your parents are upset. The two of you are at completely different life stages and the quick proposal just makes the age gap more worrisome. Either he is just in a rush to get married to anyone, hence the generic ring that doesn't represent you at all, or he is moving quickly because he wants to nail you down before he shows his true colors. Please listen to your parents and ask yourself if you really want to spend the rest of your life with this man. Reply, thank you for commenting what you think. I am in love with him and he behaves wonderfully with me, which makes it hard to have doubts about his intentions. But now that I read all this comments I have to be honest that you all are planting doubt in my mind. He did brush it off today when I told him that our engagement would have to be super long because I want to get to med school and finish before getting married. I have not listened to my parents because they have a 10-year gap and have been happily married for 24 years. So it sounded a bit hypocritical of them. Ugh. My heart is sinking right now. But thank you, I know you are coming from a place of concern. You see how he knew exactly what you wanted and still gave you something radically different. That's him putting his convenience first. He likely already had this ring, heard you tell him what you liked, and said, this is good enough for her, because it was too much trouble to exchange it. Would you do that to him? It's not a sweater in the wrong color, it's a sentimental piece of jewelry that you're supposed to wear for life to symbolize your relationship. Do you want to symbolize a relationship with a man who doesn't think it's worth a minor inconvenience and maybe a little more money to make you happy? Reply, my mom said these very same words and I am freaking out right now. I ignored her because she and my dad have a 10-year age difference, so it actually made me angry that she was using different standards for me. But hearing the same words from a stranger is seriously freaking me out. Top commenter, I saw you're 19 and he's 32. Please at least have a long engagement please. If it's meant to be, then waiting years won't be an issue. You said you're a student, always remember your education comes first, you should get to have experiences prior to marriage that he got to have when he was your age. But also you aren't a brat to tell him you don't like it. You loving your ring is so important or it'll cause resentment. Love, anyways sending love, not trying to harp. Reply, thank you so much. Yes, I told him earlier that I want to go to med school and finish before getting married. He kind of brushed that off though. I was so happy I didn't think much about it, but now there are hundreds of comments saying the same thing and I am freaking out. I love him so much. How they met. I am turning 20 in January, but yes, I was 18 when we got together. I actually approached him to ask about his experience. He is a medical resident at the hospital where I dream to work when I finish med school. I would not lie for him to protect his ego. I know our age gap is big. But the fact that I was the one to approach him, and the fact that all my friends adore him, has made me see no red flags. But I am not dumb. Even though I might be immature because of my age. When two people who are not related with one another tell you the same thing, there might be some truth to that. In this case over 100 people who are not related are telling me the same thing. I am freaking out. I think I need to have a serious conversation with him. Not even about the ring. The post was about the ring but I don't even care about it anymore. I will talk to him about the long engagement tonight. I can't sleep if I don't. I am just mustering the strength to do it. I love him so much and the words I am thinking to tell him might make it seem like I am accusing him of being a predator. Those are not light accusations. I am so afraid to lose him. Commenter, if you decide to stay with him, please have a long engagement. Like don't even think about planning a wedding for another year. Are you in college or on some sort of career path? I know this is very personal, but please use contraception. If you decide he's not for you, it will be a whole lot harder to leave him if you have a child. Reply, yes, I am in college. I am pre-med, planning to get into an MD-PhD program. That is my priority and I don't want to get married. I told him I want a long engagement when he proposed today. He kind of brushed it off. I thought it was the emotion but after reading all this I want to talk to him about it again, tonight. So for the contraception, sorry if this is TMI, but he told me early on that he didn't want to use condoms and I should get the pill or an IUD. I got mad and told him that I don't have to do something that causes harm to my body just because he doesn't want to use condoms, and that he should get a vasectomy if he doesn't want to use condoms. He went and got one, and that was a super green flag for me. Commenter, you've mentioned a few times about keeping your mouth shut. This worries me. Do not keep your mouth shut when you have a different opinion from this man. A relationship must have open and honest communication. OP, this doesn't feel right, even if the age difference wasn't so drastic. Please be careful. Reply thanks. I just don't like conflict. He is not violent with me or emotionally abusive, if that is what you are suggesting. However, he does get very upset and cold for days, and I can't stand that.